Darren, very quickly, is this the big jump that Arsenal need to make?
Yeah, it is, of course, but I think that experience last season, getting to the quarterfinals against a side like Bayern, where they didn't really put the performance in that second leg, didn't really do anything, I think that experience and how far they got last year will certainly stand them in good stead this year.
They've arrived in a great atmosphere in Bergamo. What are you expecting to see in the first half?
Just Arsenal really, take the handbrake off and really go at Atalanta, try and get a goal up, because Atalanta take chances, they leave gaps everywhere. I think if Arsenal can exploit those areas early and cause them a real problem, then they can make the rest of the evening a lot more comfortable.
Well, you know what that music means. About to get underway in Bergamo. It's a game to take seriously, of course, against a very serious opponent. It's just not as serious an opponent as Arsenal are going to face in the Premier League at the weekend. Nonetheless, Mikel Arteta has shown the Champions League and his opponents full respect tonight, and he'll be desperate to escape Bergamo without adding to his injury woes. Europa League holders Atalanta, the opponents, as Arsenal once again begin their bid for a first ever Champions League title. Your commentary team, the former England striker Darren Bent and Joe Shannon.
Thank you, Hugh. Good evening, everybody. From North London derby victory on Sunday to Northern Italy tonight, and a trip to Manchester to come before the end of the week. 3 straight away games billed as a stern early test of Arsenal's mettle this season, and my, how they passed the first of those against their local rivals. City away will be seen as the Premier League game of the season so far, but before that, a tricky tie here at the home of last season's Europa League winners. Arsenal have re-established themselves as being among Europe's elite. 2006 remains the closest Arsenal have ever come to the ultimate prize. Could 24-25 turn into the year of Champions League glory? Arsenal have David Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel and Timber in defence, Rice, Partey and Havertz in midfield, Saka, Jesus and Martinelli up front. For Atalanta, Karnaseki is the goalkeeper, Jimsiti, Hien, Kolasinac at the back, Zappacosta, Darun, Ederson and Ruggeri in midfield, Lookman and De Ketelaere either side of Retegui up front. This stadium, the Stadio di Bergamo in northern Italy, has been rebuilt over the past season or so. 25,000 in tonight. Lots of expectation for Atalanta after their Europa League exploits last season. But Darren Bent, this is a game where Mikel Arteta has picked a team to win.
He has. Good evening. Yeah, he has. He's gone really, really strong. He's gone a lot stronger than I expected him to, especially with that game at the weekend coming up against Manchester City. But I can understand it. He wants to show the competition respect. I don't think when you've been it's not your strongest competition, the Champions League, and Arsenal have struggled certainly of late in this competition. The last thing you want to do is get off to a really slow start. So it doesn't surprise me he's gone really, really strong. He probably wants to get the result done tonight, and that will give them confidence going into that big game at the weekend against Manchester City.
A brand new format for this season, of course, in the Champions League. The top ranked 8 teams out of 36 go into the round of 16 stage automatically. 9th to 24th go into the knockout phase playoffs. And 25th to 36th are all eliminated. All of that is a long way away, though. We're right at the start of the campaign for Arsenal, revamped Champions League. But for Mikel Arteta, the pursuit of glory at the highest level remains unrelenting, regardless of the format. Arsenal got back their taste for European football at the highest level last season. The dream ended in Munich, but the Allianz Arena is the venue everybody wants to be at for this year's final at the end of May. Is this the start of Arsenal's journey there, I wonder? They will get the game underway back in the red and white tonight, which I'm sure for all Arsenal supporters is good to see and hear. And Atalanta in the traditional blue and black with the striped shirts. Arsenal immediately go high and long downfield. They're playing from right to left in the first half. Atalanta from left to right at the tight and compact surroundings of the Stadio di Bergamo. And Atalanta win a throw on the far side of the field, and the ball is hurled back to Sead Kolasinac, the former Arsenal defender. 0-0.
When I say styles makes fights, and when you look at the way Atalanta play with this 3-4-3 system, it's really open. They take chances, they commit men forward, and with Arsenal in this 4-3-3 system, they can cause them problems.
Gabriel Jesus with his back to goal is flagged offside, and Atalanta will have a free kick inside the opening few seconds. This one of more than 450 live commentaries this season on the Talksport network. Once we're done tonight, you can have your say on the Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy at 10 o'clock. 03717 223344. Good touch for Ademola Lookman in the left wing position, but he's quickly dispossessed by the giant figure of Saliba, and Arsenal work it left to the left back position, and Timber, who finds Rice back from suspension just shy of the halfway line. And of course, Darren, all of the talk in the build-up about Martin Odegaard's injury, which does seem worse than initially thought. Declan Rice quickly back from suspension, and there'll be even more emphasis on his performances than there usually would be.
Yeah, there has to be, I think, for Declan Rice, because when people are asking the question, well, which one would you prefer to lose for a sustained amount of time? No, you don't want to lose any of them because they're both fantastic players, but I just think Declan Rice, with what he can bring you, because he effectively can play that holding role and that number 8 role, and by him doing that, I just think he gives you so much, Declan. So it's a big opportunity as well for Kai Havertz, because I think he's evolved into a player that has to play in this Arsenal team somewhere, whether it be the false 9 or into that number 8 role or a 10 role. I think he does so many good things that go under the radar that I think Mikel Arteta and his teammates have seen how important he is to this Arsenal squad.
Well, he has dropped into a deeper role tonight. Gabriel Jesus has taken the captain's armband, his first start of the season, an injury-hit season so far for Gabriel Jesus, who you and I were saying hasn't scored for Arsenal since January. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for Gabriel Jesus, because I'm a big fan of his, but the fitness has been an issue as well. But as you said, not scoring a goal since January, he needs it, because he had a good pre-season, he looked sharp, and I thought, okay, maybe this is his time, but it just hasn't quite worked for him yet. But again, another opportunity for him, because if he plays well tonight, he stays in the side, Havertz picks up that 10 role, you never know, Arsenal could be onto something here.
Here is Timber occupying the left-sided centre-half spot for a moment. Gabriel is standing in the left-back position and receives possession. Back it goes to David Raya, all in bright yellow, already 3 clean sheets in his first 4 appearances this season. Ball forward to the edge of the centre circle, and Rice, who touches it on quickly towards Bukayo Saka inside right channel. Back is Hien for Atalanta, and he'll roll it all the way back to the feet of the goalkeeper. Cleared away by Karnaseki, high downfield, as Thomas Partey picks up possession for Arsenal. Back to Jesus, lovely turn on the edge of the penalty area, really quick feet from the number 9, and Partey's shot is a left-footed curler, and that's going to deflect behind and away for a corner to Arsenal inside the first 3.5 minutes, 0-0.
That's what Gabriel Jesus does really well. He just takes the ball on the edge of the box, good possession, uses his body, worked his feet really well, but he just got in the way of Bukayo Saka, who was coming onto the ball there, and he could quite clearly see what he wanted to do. Just use that inside of his foot and bend it on the outside of that post, and he just gets a little bit too much on it.
Gianpiero Gasperini, the Atalanta head coach, already looking quite demonstrative on the edge of his technical area. Gasperini, 66 years of age, the oldest coach ever to win the Europa League, lifted by Atalanta last season. And Mikel Arteta going in search of what would be his second piece of silverware as Arsenal boss. Who knows how many trophies they could end up with by the end of the season. 0-0 inside the 4th minute on Talksport. Declan Rice with the in-swinging corner, punched away by the goalkeeper, could drop down towards Martinelli, hammered away by Kolasinac downfield. And quickly Saka gets in front of Lookman, and Arsenal are already asserting themselves well on the game in terms of the possession that they're enjoying.
Yeah, they've started really well, moving the ball from left to right. They've got it into Saka a couple of times. We've not seen Martinelli yet, but every single time they get in the attacking areas, they look positive. They're trying to commit the fullbacks as well, and it's been a positive start if you're Mikel Arteta, looking at the team that you've picked so far. Gabriel Jesus has got his touches as well. They've looked really sharp.
0-0 the score. This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. The return of the Premier League to Talksport on Saturday. West Ham against Chelsea, with commentary with us from 12:30, and at 3 o'clock on Talksport 2, Tottenham against Brentford in a London derby. That's all followed this Saturday night by boxing at Wembley Stadium. Joshua against Dubois is live on Talksport. We've also got the start of the WSL season this weekend, Friday and Sunday. We've got commentaries for you over on Talksport 2. As always, the best way to be across all of the action is to download our app. Long throw downfield by Declan Rice, and now Havertz is breaking into the penalty area, shoots right-footed, and it's turned behind. Was there a touch on that from the Atalanta defender? I don't think so. The referee has said it's gone clean behind for a goal kick, but Havertz bursting forward from deep there, Darren Bent, and very nearly getting that effort on target.
Yeah, it was, and that's what he does so well, Kai Havertz. Picking up those second balls, he anticipates the knockdown because Gabriel Jesus gets his body in and just lays it off, and it's not even a good layoff, but anticipating what's going to happen. Kai Havertz, he's on his bike already, he gets up there, and you can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to cut across the ball when he takes that shot just inside the box with his right foot and just doesn't get enough on it, but again, that's why he has to play, doing those little jobs there that no one wants to do.
Hammered downfield by David Raya for Arsenal. A cross comes here in the Swedish centre-half to try and shepherd the ball out of play, and he does via a deflection off Martinelli out for an Atalanta throw in their left-back position on the far side of the field. 2 goals in 4 appearances so far this season for Kai Havertz, who's played every minute of the new campaign. And Kolasinac, up against his old club, has sent the throw infield to Ruggieri, who's hooked it hopefully downfield more than anything else, and Lookman will just let the ball trickle out of play. It's another Atalanta throw, this one, and much closer to the halfway line.
I'm looking forward to seeing that battle, Ademola Lookman versus Ben White. I think Ben White, again for Arsenal for the last couple of seasons in that right-back situation, has been incredible. He's been brilliant, defensively strong, but he's up against one of probably the hottest properties in Europe at the minute in Ademola Lookman, so this would test him.
Well, they were all talking about Lookman before the game and the hat-trick that he scored in the Europa League final last season. Atalanta, who beat Liverpool at Anfield, of course, as part of that amazing run to the title. Up goes Zappacosta with Martinelli just inside the Arsenal half, near side the left. Good touch by Jesus, tracking back to find Rice. Now here's Gabriel, midway inside his own half the field. Rice in a tight area finds Timber 10 yards further forward. He wriggles away, at least momentarily, from De Ketelaere. No free kick given, despite the appeals of the Atalanta supporters. Arsenal keep possession, and now they've got the ball on the halfway line on the far side with Ben White. He dinks it high up the right-hand channel. Bukayo Saka is chasing. Across comes Ruggieri, the left wing-back, prevents a corner, and then actually has rattled the ball off the shins of Saka, and that'll be an Atalanta throw right by their own corner flag. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 on Talksport.
Good defending there from Ruggieri, getting his body in, not allowing Saka, who's strong by the way, to kind of manoeuvre him and get the ball out and get the ball back into the box. Just stepped across him, kept his composure, and it's really good defending.
That's Arena in Munich, the venue for the Champions League final this season. Arsenal's European dreams ended last year in Munich. Darren Bent, you were there, and Mikel Arteta, I think, has tried to use that as a springboard, obviously, for something much better this season.
I think he had to. I think he'll take a lot of experience from what happened over there, because first leg I thought they played really well. Arsenal 2-2, although they started the game really well, but then found themselves 2-1 down. But then when they got to Munich, they didn't really lay a glove on Bayern Munich, didn't really believe that they can go over there and get the result. And I think, and I said it before we started the kickoff, that I think that experience last season, getting to the quarterfinals, will do so much good for them in this campaign.
Well, let's see just how far Arsenal can go back in the Champions League for the second consecutive season. And beneath the floodlights here in northern Italy, it remains goalless. Jurrien Timber, former Ajax man, ready to take a throw on the halfway line. Great to see Timber back fit, fully fit this season, of course, after such a disrupted 23-24. The throw is only half cleared, only as far as Partey, who then treads on the ball. It's won back by Ederson of Atalanta, key man in the midfield role for them in that central position. Lookman out on the far side, the left wing, has to go back to Ruggieri. And now Kolasinac, the left of the trio of Atalanta centre-halves. Here, midway inside his own half the field. It's the Champions League and it's live across the Talksport network as the ball is played back to goalkeeper Karnaseki. Lots of blue and black flags being waved by the Atalanta supporters behind Karnaseki's goal. Ederson picks up a loose ball in the middle of midfield and plays it back to Jim City, and Atalanta can build again from the midway point of their own half. They have had a couple of departures and a couple of bits of bad luck on the injury front, Atalanta, this season, but it's a pretty settled team, and a number of these players were key parts of the team that did impressively in the Europa League and went on to win that title, of course, last season. They also finished 4th in Serie A. And on the left-hand side is Kolasinac. The ball is tucked down the middle now to Retegui. Back to goal, lays it back to Lookman. Lookman looking to dart into a pocket of space, 35 yards from goal. Wide to Davide Zappacosta on the near side of the field. 10 minutes gone, Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Back it goes now to Jim City, the centre-half. Corner of the penalty area, whips in the cross just over the head of Lookman. and it'll trickle away towards the right-hand side. Saka will let it trickle out of play, and that watertight Arsenal defence tested somewhat for the first time tonight, Darren Bent.
Yeah, really good play from Atalanta. They worked it from left to right, and when they got into an attacking area, they didn't want to just throw the ball in the box. They put it in with real quality from Jim City, and it was just above Lookman's head. But that was good play from Atalanta. They didn't rush it. They took their time. They were patient, and they just tried to move this Arsenal backline. Have been absolutely rock solid all season and last.
And Saka, right wing position, coming in field on his favoured left side. White goes back to Partey. Atalanta, lots of blue and black shirts behind the ball. Lovely interplay between Rice and Saka. Surely fouled on the edge of the box. That's a clear free kick to Arsenal. And a yellow card out of the pocket of the referee for Ederson. It was a cynical foul. Lovely interplay in a very tight area from Mikel Arteta's team, and they got a free kick within shooting range.
Lovely play from Bukayo Saka there. Just let the ball to Declan Rice, lent it to him, went again for the reverse, and he was in on goal. If he doesn't get fouled by Ederson, he's in on goal, and his next touch is probably a shot. But it was really good play from Arsenal, and that's what I've liked so far in this opening 11 minutes, is the little intricacies around the box, little 1-2s, the little trying stuff as well. We saw Kai Havertz running behind and get a shot off. We just saw a little 1-2 there of Bukayo Saka. Arsenal looked really sharp in the final third.
And now you've got the destroyer in the middle of midfield. Darren Ederson is going to be walking the tightrope for the rest of the game.
We've got to put pressure on him now because he is a fantastic midfield player. He almost brings it all together. He's almost a glue in that midfield for Atalanta, so you've got to test him now. You've got to get Gabriel Jesus backing into him, Bukayo Saka running away from him, just to see what his discipline's like.
Saka will take the free kick right of the edge of the D, and he's got his hands on his hips here, 25 yards out. There are 4 men in the Atalanta wall, joined by a couple of Arsenal players, and I think it might be a Kolasinac who's lying behind the wall. In fact, it's Ademola Lookman instead. Arsenal at the Atalanta end of the stadium, away to our left-hand side. Goalkeeper Karnaseki still organising his wall, and he's not quite happy with something. The referee Clément Turpin of France making sure that they are all the full 10 yards back. Rice and Saka standing over the free kick, surely set up here for Bukayo Saka at the start of another very important week across all fronts, domestically and in Europe for Arsenal. Whistles from the Atalanta supporters. Big deep breath for Bukayo Saka. Here he goes, left footed, drills it low. Good save by the goalkeeper, and he blocks the rebound from Partey too. Very tight angle for Partey as he looked to try and squeeze home the rebound. I think the referee might have given a goal kick here. Saka tried to drill the ball low into the bottom corner. Good goalkeeping by Karnaseki, and I think it should be a corner. Either way, good stop to keep it at 0-0.
Really clever free kick there from Arsenal, because what they do is they put Martinelli, and I think it's Yuri and Timber, on the end of the ball, and just as Saka goes to shoot, they split, and that causes the gap, and he fires that corner. But it's a really, really good save from Karnaseki. Really good save, and again, that's what I said. I like the inventiveness from Arsenal at the minute. They're not being simple. They mix it up, and they're making Atalanta think.
A goal kick was given, and 0-0 it remains. Live on Talksport. Here is Rice, just inside his own half, back to Timber. Arsenal have had most of the possession and most of the territory in the opening 14 minutes as well. And 0-0 on Talksport, Champions League Live with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Great ball up the far side right channel by White. Driven up the touchline, low along the ground. Well won though by Kolasinac in front of Jesus. Kolasinac now looking to charge upfield towards the halfway line. He's chipped it cross-field left to right to Zappacosta. Zappacosta will poke the ball back to Jim City. Now Derone, wearing the captain's armband, can build for Atalanta. Wide to the near side, and Zappacosta. Arsenal with a good defensive shape. Everybody, including Jesus actually, and now behind the ball.
Yeah, they're not committing too many forward on the press either, Arsenal. They're allowing Atalanta to just play around that halfway line, and then once I think Kai Havertz is the actual trigger, the moment he goes, they'll go up behind him, but there's no real urgency to go and press from Arsenal at the minute in these first 15 minutes.
Ederson's gone down outside the centre circle, thinks he was caught. Referee allows play to go on. Here is Jim City, right of centre. No great pace to this Atalanta attack at the moment, but Retegui has laid it off to Lookman, who's dinked it into the penalty area. Jim City was coming forward like an overlapping centre half, and Declan Rice had to make a really important intervention at the back post to head it behind for an Atalanta corner.
Do you know what? Ademola Lookman there, he's faced up Thomas Partey on the edge of the box. I thought he was going to shift it inside and just shoot. We saw him sort of great goal like that in the Europa League final last season against Leverkusen. Same type of area, and I thought he was going to shift it and shoot, but he doesn't. and he clips a little ball in, and Declan Rice does really well to follow the run and pull it out for a corner.
Corner on the near side of the field. Ademola Lookman right-footed and out swinging. It'll bounce all the way to the back post. Ederson, the number 13, is there. He's going to dink it back in left-footed. He's gone wide to Ruggieri. First time cross. Hien with the looping header, and that's gone over the top. He was surrounded by two. In red and white was Isaac Hien. Still not scored for Atalanta since joining the club in January, and his touch enough to turn it behind, and it's a goal kick to David Raya and Arsenal.
Yeah, difficult header there from Hien. He gets up really well, but to be fair, Thomas Partey, I think Gabriel and Saliba are all on him, so he tries to direct it, not too much power, and just gets too much on it, but really good defending from Arsenal, getting bodies around him.
They have a physical team, Atalanta. They're so used to this 3-4-3 setup, which Gasperini, the head coach, has been famed for. There's a slight delay to play here. There was a complaint by Ederson that he was caught by Havertz, and I think VAR was checking it, but very quickly the referee has moved play on. The on-field referee, Clement Turpin, and Arsenal will start with possession inside their defensive third. Gabriel, midway inside his own half, goes back to Raya.
I think it's one of those fouls there, Havertz on Ederson, where I think if the referee sees it, he probably gives it. Yeah. Because he didn't see it, there was no way VAR could go back and intervene. Not a chance.
Well, there was no way it was violent conduct or anything like that. Havertz with his back to goal on the edge of the penalty area is onside. Inside left channel, back now to Timber. Timber in a congested area, wide to Havertz once again. Havertz looking to glide away from De Ketelaere, and the Belgian tracking back pokes the ball out of play. It's an Arsenal throw, level with the edge of the penalty area, 17 gone, 0-0.
He started really well, Kai Havertz. He's been lively, obviously had the opportunity earlier where he shot just wide, but even there, just again, the ball drops down after Gabriel Jesus tries to hold it, and he picks up the second ball and starts that counter-attack again.
Not had a lot of luck on the injury front, Arsenal, so far this season, and Havertz, as we've been saying, he might have to get used to playing back in that deeper role. Quick throw Timber to find Rice, and now Martinelli's in the penalty area. Curling shot over the top of the crossbar. Goal kick, says the referee. Martinelli under pressure from Ederson, maybe slightly leaning back. I think he must have lost his balance because he really sent it well skywards. Clean over the top. Stays 0-0.
That trademark throwing again from Arsenal in that final third, where they just throw it over the fullback, and it's Declan Rice who gets to the byline and he cuts it back really well. And Gabriel Jesus just gets a toe in it, but that last little shot from Martinelli just outside the 6-yard box, he goes for the wrong technique. He goes to smash it. I think he would have had more luck if he tried to bend it into that far corner. He just gets too much on it, but again, really good play from Arsenal in that final third.
12 victories in their last 22 away European matches for Arsenal. And they have started the better here in what is a new format for the Champions League this season. The new league phase has been introduced. Arsenal's next Champions League game will be at home to PSG. That'll be live on Talksport on the 1st of October. As Raya hammers the ball high downfield, Kolasinac heads it away and then goes down as though he was caught by Havertz. I don't think the assistant referee spotted it, but Clement Turpin, the referee, did. Kolasinac motioning as though he was caught maybe by the flailing arm of Havertz. We've got replays on the monitor in our commentary position. There wasn't a great deal of contact really there, was there?
I'm not going to lie, but I'd expect more from Kolasinac. We all know about his history, so the way that he went down as well, I thought, really? Is that the same person? But, you know, that's one of those where defenders, they always get the fouls, and certainly nowadays, maybe 10 years ago, that's not even a foul. The referee, the linesman, they let it play on. But every single time now, when strikers go up and elevate themselves with their arms, if any bit of their hands come away from their body, the defender always gets the foul.
It might have been brushed by Havertz's fingers, but that was about it. Nothing much from Kolasinac, who actually sheepishly eventually gets to his feet.
Honestly, I expect more from him.
As the ball is going to go back towards the halfway line now, and it looks like an Atalanta throw just inside their own half. 5-0 Leverkusen 4 in the Champions League earlier, and Red Star Belgrade 1, Benfica 2. Also a full-time score. RB Leipzig lead at Atletico Madrid by a 0-0, and Monaco lead Barcelona 1-0. Elsewhere in the Champions League tonight, Brest 0, Sturm Graz 0 is the latest score. Quite a lot of unfamiliar names to the Champions League included this season, and you and I were saying off air before the game, Darren, that is a consequence of opening it all up a bit.
It is, yeah, and it's quite surprising because, as you said, a lot of the teams in there, they're in the Champions League, are they? And that's why I think it gives a lot of teams that are kind of in that middle pack a great opportunity of getting out of this group, because there's just so many places. I mean, 36 teams in the Champions League is crazy.
It feels excessive, doesn't it?
Just a bit.
There'll be quite a few dead rubbers, you would imagine, come the end. Last couple of matches of the league phase. Raya clears long for Arsenal. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Arsenal playing from right to left. 20 minutes on the clock as Rice goes to challenge with Jim Citi for that high ball downfield. Eventually it's out of play for an Arsenal throw. Live with the edge of the penalty area. Martinelli's going to leave it for Timber to come forward and take. Timber now. Television camera right behind him. Looking for options square into his left. He goes up the touchline to Jesus, who looks quite sprightly early on, given the captain's armband for the night. Arsenal's number 9 out in the left wing position, thought about floating in a right-footed cross, instead plays a square ball infield to Partey in the central area. Gabriel turns and rolls the ball back to Saliba, who immediately knocks it square to White. White now onto Havertz, about 10 yards into Atalanta territory. Partey, ball forward 10 yards towards Timber, lets it run across his body. Jesus with a poor reverse ball aimed at Timber. It came back off Zappacosta. It's gone to the feet of Jesus, who then loses out to a combination of Ruggieri and Ederson. Lookman inside the centre circle for Atalanta, all a bit congested in the midfield area at the moment. We're not seeing a great deal of chance creation really in open play at all.
No, I mean, certainly from Arsenal's perspective, they've not tested the goalkeeper yet. They've got themselves in some really good areas, as I spoke about, certainly in this game. Little 1-2s around the box have been really bright, but that last little bit of quality where you want them to have a shot at goal, test the goalkeeper, just hasn't quite been there yet.
Here goes Ederson, darting down the far side, the left. He's fouled Havertz. Much of the displeasure of the Atalanta fans. You can hear the protests of the home supporters, but it will be a free kick to Arsenal in their right-back position. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 in the Champions League. Live on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van. And David Raya will come across to the right-back position to take the free kick. Quite a low-key start to Arsenal's Champions League campaign so far. Saka with the 25-yard free kick, well saved by the goalkeeper. Really the only chance for either team of late. There was one header over the top from Hien for Atalanta, but that was a half chance at best. He's there, the centre-half, to head away from the edge of his own penalty area, backpedaling. And now Ederson has gone down again, not for the first time tonight, Darren.
Yeah, I expect a lot of this tonight. Since he's been booked as well, it's like he's trying to get others booked as well, but you're right, I think for Arsenal they're just been a little bit, not I wouldn't say lacklustre, but you can quite clearly see Gabriel Jesus, he's not got his match sharpness yet. Obviously hasn't played a lot of minutes this season. Just 1 or 2 touches as well have kind of come off him a little bit, but again, that's what you've got to do if he wants to stay in this Arsenal team, because I think there's an opportunity there with the Odegaard situation. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. It looks like Kai Havertz is probably the one who's going to play in that role, but then you have got Trossard there. If he wants to stake a claim of that number 9, he's got to put in a performance.
Hopefully not months, Mikel Arteta said about that injury to Martin Odegaard yesterday in the pre-match press conference. All happened, of course, over the international break when he was playing for Norway.
Well, he's someone who's incredibly durable.
Yeah,
Martin Odegaard. I mean, he rarely goes down in any game.
It was always a concern, wasn't it, from the moment I'm sure any Arsenal fan saw that injury happen or heard about the injury.
Yeah.
Here is Gabriel just shy of the halfway line. We are at just over the midway point of the first half. Gabriel ball down the middle. Little flick by Gabriel Jesus. Back to Martinelli. Martinelli's touch is heavy. That allows Hien to come across and sweep the ball away. But his touch equally is a poor one. Arsenal win it back in the middle of midfield with Thomas Partey. Partey, the Ghanaian, who has started all 5 of Arsenal's games in all competitions now so far this season. 3 wins out of 4 in the Premier League, 2 points behind Manchester City. Of course, it is very early on in the season, but that game at the weekend already looks important, and we'll have updates of it on the Sunday session on Talksport this Sunday. Hoisted down ball, downfield, the long ball by Jim Citi for Atalanta, and Retegui, who's made a very impressive scoring start to his Atalanta career, tries to take it quickly. The referee's not going to let him do so. Atalanta will take the free kick again in a moment.
Yeah, Retegui's looked really sharp this season.
Yeah.
Before his first 4 appearances as well. Skamaka going down as well. Skamaka going down with the injury. Probably put a bit more pressure on him, but he looks like he's lived up to the hype. Signed him for a lot of money as well. I think it was 18 million they signed him for as well.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right, Darren. Skamaka, horrible knee ligament injury for him. So Atalanta know that they'll be without the former West Ham man for the long haul. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 it remains in northern Italy. Ederson trying to wriggle away from Havertz in a central area. Little square ball to the feet of Lookman, who's so fleet-footed in possession, so naturally at ease when he's on the ball. Ademola Lookman. Now the ball is back to Kolasinac, midway inside the Arsenal half. Again, no great danger to the Arsenal goal. Atalanta at walking pace here. Ederson forward to the edge of the penalty area, and Retegui lays it back to Ederson. Steers it wide to the left, and Ruggeri, blue and black shirts, lurking in the penalty area. Ederson's reverse ball in is headed away at the near post by Saliba. And there continues to be no real concerns for David Raya so far. He's not had a serious save to make 0-0. Out to the right-hand side they go, Atalanta and Davide Zappacosta. That's a looping cross that's way overhit. Ruggeri will do well to keep it in. He has done. 10 yards from the corner flag. Infield to Lookman on the corner of the penalty area, faced up by White. Lookman delivers right-footed, diving header away by Gabriel. I thought he was fouled. Referee says no. Gabriel went down under the challenge of De Ketelaere. Clement Turpin says play on. I mean, from a neutral's perspective, this needs something really to bring the game to life, it feels like at the moment, live on Talksport.
Yeah, a little bit of quality, but I almost feel like Arsenal want Atalanta to cross the ball from those type of areas, from Zappacosta and Ruggeri, because when you've got Gabriel Saliba, when you've got Gabriel and Saliba in there, two centre half, they're comfortable with that. Crosses coming in, they're big, they're both 6 foot plus, they get their head on it, they're in no real danger. It's when you get Lookman on the edge of the box facing one of them up 1v1, that's when the real problems start.
Havertz has got the ball left edge of the centre circle, square to Rice, who looks up and suddenly has support in front and to the right of him. On the right hand side is White for Arsenal. Back to Declan Rice again, just the one game ban that he had to serve after that controversial 2 yellow cards against Brighton. White delivers from the right, good header away by the retreating Kolasinac. 0-0 the score.
There was a prime example there. Ben White got his head up, he got the ball in a really good area, he looked up and he put the cross in, and the only one that was in there was Kai Havertz. Gabriel Jesus just kind of hung the edge of the box. You think you're a centre forward, get yourself in there, but give Ben White a target to hit.
The offside flag is up on the far side, that checkered yellow and orange flag, offside against Jesus. Atalanta will have a free kick. 2 London derbies to bring you in the Premier League across the Talksport network this Saturday. West Ham against Chelsea at 12:30 on Talksport. Tottenham against Brentford at 3 on Talksport 2. The WSL season underway this weekend on Talksport 2. Friday night we're at Chelsea, Aston Villa, and Arsenal's women in action at the Emirates on Sunday up against Manchester City. And now here is Ruggeri, blue boots on, back to Kolasinac again, left of the 3 centre halves, rolls it back to goalkeeper Karnaseki. Karnaseki drills the ball, lovely ball out of his own box from the goalkeeper to find Jim Seaty.
That was lovely.
He absolutely took that perfectly, didn't it? One of the nicest touches in the game so far. And to Ketelaere, looking to race beyond Martinelli, down to the dead ball line. Martinelli sticking with him all the way. Back it goes to De Roon, wearing the captain's armband for Atalanta. Back now to he, and again, quite leaden-footed the pace in this attack for Atalanta. They don't look like they're poised to cut Arsenal open anytime soon. Arsenal with everybody back behind the ball. Out on the right is Zappacosta, infield to De Ketelaere. He's being well marshalled by Timber so far in this game as Atalanta go back to the centre circle. Very cagey first 29 minutes, Darren.
I think they're just really reluctant, Atalanta. I mean, when they get into these type of areas, it's essential.
It is with Lookman, who for a moment looked dangerous. He's shuffled it square to De Ketelaere. Out to the near side again, and Jim Seaty. Further wide, hugging the touchline is Zappacosta. Arsenal players are warming up just behind him. Zappacosta now, infield to Jim Seaty, ball through the middle to Retegui. Lovely layoff to Ketelaere with a curling shot. And in the end, it's flashed a good 4 or 5 yards wide, but easily the best move that Atalanta, arguably either side really, has put together an open play in this game. Good strike play by Retegui to hold it up. Lovely flick into the path of Charles de Ketelaere, but he couldn't keep it on target, and it's still 0-0.
Great forward play from Retegui, to be fair. Does really well, gets his body and holds off Gabriel, which is no mean feat, and a little back heel. And to be fair, de Ketelaere, he should do better there. He's got a free shot from about, I'd say 12 yards. He's got to hit the target. If he hits the target, it causes David Raya a problem, but that's probably been the best opportunity so far this first half.
Raya flung himself to his right. He didn't have to make a save in the end. Arsenal have possession now with Rice on the halfway line. Arsenal's defence breached just once this season in that home draw with Brighton at the end of August. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0, half an hour gone. Live on Talksport. Sports Bar will take your calls with all the reaction once Well, we're done tonight. Lovely ball through the middle by Saka, aimed at Havertz, who couldn't quite reach it in time. Maybe slightly overcooked the pass, did Saka, but the intent was there. Havertz couldn't reach it, and it's through to the goalkeeper.
Right idea from Saka there as well, because Kai Havertz makes a really intelligent run, blindside run in behind the centre of Hien, and Saka on his weaker foot, his right foot, just gets a little bit too much on it. But it was the right idea, and it's nice to mix it up. Kai Havertz does not keep coming to feet, he's running behind as well, and I think that's what you're going to have to do to kind of unsettle this Atalanta back three, because at the minute they're comfortable because everything's in front of them. The moment you start running in behind them, little 1-2s, that's when they've been maybe a little bit vulnerable.
Well, one or two concerns about Bukayo Saka coming into tonight after he had to come off with what was a slight knock against Spurs at the weekend in the North London derby, but he looks absolutely fine this evening. De Ketelaere back to goal, left wing possession, tries a back heel, but he can't wriggle away from William Saliba. Arsenal's number 2, he's giving it straight back to De Ketelaere, and like Saliba, a slightly clumsy clearance, and on the far side the left is Lookman for Atalanta, pokes it back to De Ketelaere, further wide is Rogeri, time to measure the left-footed cross, not a good one, cleared away on the volley by Saliba, high up into the dark night sky. Now it's with Ederson, midway inside his own half, the Brazilian international, square ball to Darun, been in Atalanta a long time now, went into his 30s, Mark Darun. He played one season at Middlesbrough when they were in the Premier League 7 years ago. Oh, and it's given away to Havertz in the centre circle. Quickly forward to Jesus, who was a bit slow to anticipate in front of Hien. Arsenal feel they should have had a free kick anyway. Referee Turpin says no, Darren Bell.
I thought it was a foul, but again, Gabriel Jesus not looking behind him to see where the ball is. I mean, Kai Havertz again pressing, winning the ball back high up really well. And when he rolls a lovely ball in behind for Gabriel Jesus, but they're not on the same wavelength. And again, that comes from not playing that many games together. But they're opportunities that you can't really waste. I mean, you'd have been 2v2 there. At least at the end of it, there's got to be a shot on goal.
Zappacosta right wing crosses, good block by Timber. Getting back diligently to turn the cross away from danger. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 it remains. Mikel Arteta, dressed all in black, out to the edge of his technical area tonight. Last year was a great campaign for Arsenal, and so he said about their Champions League form. Going through to the quarter-finals, stunning first leg against Bayern Munich at the Emirates, 2-2 draw, and then a very slender defeat in the second leg at the Allianz. A fine margin, so often the case in the Champions League, just as in the Premier League. De Ketelaere's got the wrong side of Timber this time. Ball to the penalty area, nudges it back out wide to Zappacosta, and he hasn't been able to keep it in play. And out of play it goes for a throw to Arsenal. 0-0, and actually the home fans starting to get a bit frustrated now, you feel?
Well, I just think that Atalanta, they're doing really well. They're being patient and they're getting the ball into these wide areas. But I just think there's a bit of a hesitancy to get the ball in the box, because they've tried to get it in a couple of times, and Saliba and Gabriel, both of them have got their head to it and defended it really well. And we're not really getting any joy. The one bit of joy they got was that little intricate play around the edge of the box when Lookman and Ketelaere went into Residue, and then he almost laid it off and there was a shot. But other than that, there's not been too much.
Very quiet this game in terms of clear-cut opportunities. Actually, both teams have looked relatively well matched, even though tactically the approaches are quite different. The setup, the formation, and now you hear the noise in the Bergamo. At 25,000, it really is an atmospheric arena. They have rebuilt it, and they're all the better for it. They create quite a noise, the crowd here. Partey, midway inside his own half, charged down by the onrushing Retegui, and out of play goes for an Arsenal throw in the right back position. 11 minutes remaining at the end of the first half. I wonder what Mikel Arteta has made of it so far.
I wonder if he's looking at his team selection and thinking, do you know what, they put a lot in against Tottenham at the weekend, a lot. They defended and played in a completely different way, different style, had to sit in deep, really caused problems. And I wonder if he's thinking, could I have rested one or two more? Because you'd have to say one or two of them so far this evening look just a little bit leggy, a little bit off it, a little bit. There's not that same spark, pop as we usually see from Arsenal, certainly in the first 15 minutes. So I wonder if he's thinking in half-time, what if I change one or two?
Well, the fixture scheduling's been a hot topic, as we know. And hints from Roger at Manchester City that players might even go on strike at some point. What did you make of that?
I think he'll be on his own if he does that. I can't see too many players wanting to do that, but yes, he's got a point. But then that's what you've got big squads for. Managers have got to rotate players. I mean, Man City do it probably better than anyone. And I just think here in tonight's game, could have Mikel Arteta have looked at maybe Sterling, maybe him getting a bit of a start, something like that, because at the minute, they just, especially in the final third, they just look a little bit, not that they're running out of ideas, but they're not running on empty either, but just lacking a little something, a little spark.
Quite a few youngsters on the Arsenal bench tonight. Header on the halfway line from Gabriel. 10 minutes of normal time remaining at the end of the first half. Here is White, lift to the centre circle. Arsenal have looked as steady defensively as you'd expect them to be. And clearly this is the first choice back four. At the moment, Timber very much the first choice in that left-back area. And I think that in part because of the real strength of versatility that he's got. Here is Partey on the halfway line. Crosses into Atalanta territory. Forward to Saka. Good close control by Saka out on the right-hand side. Now White infield to Jesus, who tucks it square to Partey. Ball flicked up the middle towards Jesus. It was behind him. He tried to stick out a leg, trying to control it almost with his heel. He was never likely to do that. Out of play goes for a goal kick.
Well, the right pass was to Timber. Yuri Timber taking up a really intelligent position on his left-hand side. It was him and Martinelli, a 2v1 against Gym City. But he opted to go for the more difficult pass, which was into Gabriel Jesus, and he gets it all wrong by passing it behind him. But again, there's little moments like that where you think, mental fatigue really, the travelling, coming out here after that tough game for the weekend, is one or two of them just off it.
Jesus has controlled the ball neatly on his chest, midway inside opposition territory with his back to goal. Rice charges forward to reach the second ball, but he's beaten to it by Daru. Now to Ketteler, over the halfway line for Atalanta, spins, turns and angles the ball wide to Daru, touches it on, that's a dreadful ball, way overhit towards Zappacosta, who is making the underlapping run up the near side touchline. It'll be a goal kick to Arsenal in front of the away supporters in one corner of the stadium to our right. They haven't made a particularly good start in Serie A this season. Atalanta, 2 wins and 2 defeats from their opening 4 matches, and have been relatively disappointing in terms of the goals they've conceded as well. Hit for 4 by Inter recently, lost away at Torino, and they beat Fiorentina at the weekend, but conceded twice in that game. So there is certainly a vulnerability about them so far this season, that's for sure.
And that's what I expected, because when you look at the Serie A table, I mean, they've conceded more goals than anyone. There's no one conceded any more goals than them. So I thought Arsenal would look at that and go, do you know what, we will create problems for them. But Arsenal haven't really made them work to defend. They haven't really tried to run in behind. They haven't mixed up a little bit. They haven't gone too direct. Sometimes on different wavelengths. Gabriel Jesus will go short and the ball will go over his head. And I think maybe half time, if it stays like this, I think Mikel Arteta is going to have to look at 1 or 2 situations and go, do you know what, I need to freshen up certain areas.
A rare bit of poor distribution from David Raya, way too long with the long ball over the top towards Martinelli, who did throw up his arms a bit in frustration. And now here come Atalanta. Zappacosta in a central position, right of centre, well tracked by Timber. Zappacosta had to check his run. He's threaded it wide right to the near side, and De Ketelaere with Gabriel jockeying him every step of the way. De Ketelaere corner of the penalty area. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 in the 39th minute, live on Talksport. Back with the Champions League for the new season. Live boxing at the weekend from Wembley Stadium. Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. Live with Talksport. Here is Ademola Lookman in the left wing position. Sets up Kolasinac on the underlap. Back out wide to Lookman. He's kept it in with his back to goal. Down by the dead ball line. Right by the corner flag. Big blue and black banner behind the goal as Ruggieri charges into the box. And Partey did well. Uses his physicality to shrug aside Matteo Ruggieri. His touch was very heavy. And out of play it goes for a goal kick. The Arsenal subs, Darren. Calafiori, Kivior, Jorginho, Sterling, Trossard and Neto, the really senior players. Then Ethan Nwaneri, who we know is a part of the first team setup, and then the youngsters, the goalkeeper Jack Porter, 16 years of age, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Nathan Butler, Oyedeji, Jimmy Gower and Salah Eddin Ouladum Hand. A youthful looking Arsenal bench tonight.
Yeah, there is. And again, Ranieri, I mean, what a player. He came on in the Northampton derby and looked really, really comfortable. I looked at the bench, and as you said there, it looks like a game for Jorginho, because I think Arsenal, one thing about this game, they seem in control, but I'm not quite sure they're in full control. But when you've got someone like a Jorginho who can dictate play, control the tempo, I think that will settle everyone else down. So again, that's maybe an area that Mikel Arteta has to look at, because at the minute I just think it's a little bit like a basketball match where Arsenal attack, they give it away, Atalanta attack, they give it away, and there's a real lack of quality in that middle part of the pitch.
Absolutely. Neither team looking in clinical form in the final third at the moment. Here is Saliba, midway inside his own half of the field. As the away side, Arsenal are comfortable defensively. There's no real question about that at the moment. David Raya's going to go long from the edge of the penalty area. High angle ball on the diagonal. Excellent flick by Havertz on the far side, and Jesus quite quick enough in terms of being on the uptake speedily. Ben White can't keep it in play, and it'll be an Atalanta throw in their left wing back position. In fairness to Atalanta, they're pretty comfortable too, and that in part is obviously why it's still 0-0. I wonder who will be happy with the two head coaches, because Gasperini doesn't look particularly pleased either.
No, he doesn't, and I just wonder from Atalanta's perspective, they're at home, which I can understand. They're playing against one of the biggest clubs in Europe and one of the favourites for the competition. I wonder if they're almost just easing themselves into it and thinking, right, opening night, Champions League, not to get beat. I know they're at home, but they're up against a side that we all expect to beat them. And it looks like that to me, Arsenal almost playing into their hands, not taking enough risks, almost letting Atalanta do what they want, really.
Back in the Champions League for the first time since 2022, Atalanta. Here is Zappacosta for them, wearing number 77. Won the Europa League when he was at Chelsea against Arsenal. That infamous final at the end of Unai Emery's... with the infamous ticketing arrangements as well, if you remember that.
I remember it was an absolute hiding. That's what I do remember.
4-1 to Chelsea, I'm afraid to remind you. A crossfield towards Zappacosta, and a strangely poor header from Timber up challenge. It's spun off the top of his head and out of play for an Atalanta throw. Arsenal fans have travelled in numbers tonight. Still 0-0. 3.5 minutes of normal time remaining at the end of the first half. Giroud, midway inside Arsenal territory. Arsenal with virtually everybody in red and white back behind the ball. Out on the left is Ruggieri with a cross over the head of Retegui. Could drop down to De Ketelaere in the penalty area. Only half away by Saliba. The clearance is completed by Partey. Hammers it high downfield, and the ball drops down towards Saka on the halfway line. Good ball through the middle lane to Jesus. He can't hold it up. He's blocked off by Kolasinac, and Atalanta clear. And now the referee is signalling that I think Kolasinac, he feels, was caught late, so Atalanta will have a free kick. It just won't stick for Arsenal at the moment.
No, it won't. And again, Gabriel Jesus, we know, we spoke about him. This was an opportunity for him. Just hasn't quite happened for him yet. He seems a yard off. Even that one there, it's a lovely ball into him by Kai Havertz, and his touch goes the wrong way, and Kolasinac comes back and robs him. He just doesn't look razor sharp when I get it. I've been a centre forward before. You only get match sharpness by playing games. You can train all you want, you can do all the sessions you want, but until you play a number of games in a row, you'll never see the best of him. But I just wonder if maybe, again, Mikel Arteta's looking at it thinking, do you know what, Kai Havertz is more comfortable in that central role, putting him up there and maybe bringing in a Jorginho or a Trossard to fill that kind of number 10 role that Kai Havertz has left.
Well, he's only had 15-20 minutes of football this season, Jesus, and thigh problem as well.
But he's looked at Joe, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. You're right.
Like he just hasn't got... There's times where he's really sharp, but today's just not been one of those days.
0-0 it remains. A missed kick by Martinelli on the halfway line. That is given away by Zappacosta. It's not been a game of great quality, I have to admit. There's a lot of jeopardy in the match, of course, particularly with the score still 0-0. And Mikel Arteta patrolling the edge of his technical area. But again, for the supporters, it's not been a game, admittedly, where the entertainment levels have been very high. 90 seconds of normal time to go at the end of the first half. I don't think we'll see a great deal of added time either.
There's not been too many stoppages, but again, I think there is an element of mental fatigue. We saw it about 5 minutes ago when Yuri Timber goes over a header, he's unchallenged, and he heads it out of play for a throw-on. Just little things like that where you go, maybe there's a little bit of something there, but again, I fully expect with the changes, and that's what the bench is for, to bring on fresh players and players that can change the game. And I'm sure someone like a Sterling will be absolutely chomping at the bit to get his opportunity, because again, there's opportunities there for players to get themselves into this team.
Another dilemma for Mikel Arteta, of course, on Sunday at Manchester City. Good chest by Jesus into the path of Havertz. Back to goal on the edge of the penalty area. Back he goes to Partey. Havertz was surrounded by the dark blue and black shirts, the striped shirts of Atalanta there. Martinelli goes on the outside of Zappacosta, then checks back towards the corner of the penalty area. Rolls the ball to the feet of Gabriel. Very congested on the edge of the Atalanta box, and then Partey tries a square ball out to the near side. Neither Gabriel nor Martinelli go for it. Out of play it goes. It's an Atalanta throw in their right back position. That really sums up the first half, although again, you've got to give credit, I think, Darren Bent, to both teams in terms of how they've been off the ball defensively in the first half.
Yeah, they've been stifling the other, getting back into shape really, really quickly, not allowing teams to play through them as well. But when it's tight and congested like this, that's where the quality's got to show. And when you look at Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, they've got four players there that at any given moment can change the game with the quality that they've got. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened. I think Kai Havertz, out of all of them, has looked the sharpest. I think he's had a very good first half, but the others around them have got to pick it up a little bit.
First game of this season's Champions League campaign for Arsenal. 45 minutes played, Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. We'll have a single minute of added time in Bergamo at the end of the first half. Pretty mild tonight, 19 degrees. Here is Kolasinac out towards the far side, the left. He checks his run and plays a little square ball, 5-yard ball infield to Ederson. Very safety first from Atalanta, who have lost 3 of their first 5 games this season in all competitions. They were beaten by Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid in the Super Cup before the season proper got underway. Timber will go back to Gabriel, and now Arsenal have it with Saliba, the blue boots on. Arsenal at walking pace here, really. White in the right back position, forward to Saka. Saka infield from the right. Little square ball to Partey, almost standing on the centre spot. He has to turn and pivot away from Retegui, who looks quite an enthusiastic forward player. And that is the half-time whistle. A very cagey first half in northern Italy. A half really lacking in quality, certainly from an attacking sense at times, and very few clear-cut chances. For Arsenal, the best opportunity came from a set play. Bukayo Saka's 25-yard free kick turned away by the goalkeeper Karnaseki. David Raya has had nothing to do at the other end. I wonder whether we'll see some half-time changes. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0.
And if you look at the stats from that first half, it has been fairly even. Atalanta, the home side, with 56% of the possession. They've only had 2 shots, though, neither of them on target. Arsenal have had 5 with 2 on target. Not much to write home about in that first half, Darren Bent.
No, not at all. I mean, you said 2 on target, and I'm trying to think. One of those was the free kick, and I can't even remember which other one was, because it's been that type of first half. I mean, it's been, I'd say, lacking quality, and I was saying it during commentary. I just wonder if there's a little bit of mental fatigue there, because certainly from Arsenal's perspective, a tough game against Tottenham at the weekend, they just have looked half a yard off it. When they get to the final third, lack ideas, a little bit of straight lines. I mean, Kai Havertz for me has been the brightest player on the pitch for Arsenal, but Saka doesn't look, is he 100% fit? Martinelli hasn't really got himself into the game. Gabriel Jesus looks like he's dying for more minutes. It just has been a little bit bitty, and I think for Mikel Arteta, I think if it's not at half-time, I think maybe 10 minutes into the second half, he needs to think about changes.
I'd probably go with half-time, just because of some of the faces he's got on his bench, wanting to impress on the manager that they should maybe be getting more minutes. I'm thinking Sterling, I'm thinking Trossard as well, you know, and that will maybe give some impetus to the entire Arsenal team, with some players just wanting to prove, especially ahead of the game against Manchester City, you know, that they are up for it. And there is also a part of me thinking that, is this the new Champions League playing into it? You said a little bit about Inter Milan taking on Man City last night. Are the players maybe just a little bit off it in terms of intensity, because they know they've got 7 more games to qualify?
Potentially there's an element to that, but you'd think as well, with the team that he picked, there's so many, like Gabriel Jesus, he must sense that, you know, I've got an opportunity to get myself in this team with the likes of Martin Odegaard being out for a while. But he hasn't done anything this first half to justify his selection. So I think as players, it's all about personal pride. So I don't think you're looking too far ahead thinking, well, we've got another 7 Champions League games to qualify. It's about the here and now, because it's just not looked like the fluid Arsenal we've seen, certainly of the course of this season and last season. So I think, as you said there at half-time, he might make 1 or 2 changes. I think Gabriel Martinelli, I think he's got to do more. I think Saka, I think you'll give Saka a pass because of how good he's been for so long for Arsenal, but he's due a rest. I just think 1 or 2 of these players just look really, really tired.
There is also, of course, much consideration to give in terms of Arsenal and their season. You know, right now, looking at the fixture away from home against Atalanta, a draw is a good result. You know, is it one of those evenings where they're confident, they're comfortable, they might not be playing at their absolute best, but it's by no means a disaster?
Do you know what, Hugh? I think that's the thing. I think if you're playing like this, where it's not quite working for you, you're not playing at your absolute best, the main thing is you don't lose. I think you get to a point in this game where you either know it's going to click or it's not. And if you kind of sense it's not going to click, you just go, do you know what? We don't lose this game. We leave it with a point. Yes, in Champions League terms, we'd like to start off this campaign with 3 points, but we're just not quite at it. So the main thing is we don't lose and we go on to the next one. So, yes, that is always a silver lining. But, of course, second half, Arsenal got up it a little bit and try and go on and win this game.
How much credit do we give to Atalanta here for stopping Arsenal?
Do you know what? You give them a lot of credit, but I think from both teams, neither team's done enough to warrant taking the lead. I think Atalanta have had their moments in the first half, but haven't really created too many opportunities with real quality. And Arsenal the same. So at the minute, I think 0-0 on the basis of play and what we've seen so far, it's probably about a fair result. So I don't think either team have done enough to warrant taking the lead?
We shall see if that changes after the breakdown. Brent, thank you very much. We'll be back with Joe Shannon as well for the second half in Bergamo very shortly. At the break, though, Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Elsewhere in the Champions League, half-time whistles have gone. 4 matches taking place this evening. It is Atletico Madrid 1, RB Leipzig 1. Benjamin Sesko putting Leipzig ahead after just 5 minutes. Antoine Griezmann volleyed Atletico level. It's Brest 1, Sturm Graz 1. Hugo Magnetti putting the French side in front. Sturm Graz equalising a couple of minutes ago on the stroke of half-time. An unfortunate own goal from Edmilson Fernandez. Basketball great Michael Johnson's in the house for Monaco 1, Barcelona 1. He's seen the former Manchester City man Eric Garcia sent off early on for Barcelona. It was possibly harsh for dragging down the former Liverpool forward Takumi Minamino. 6 minutes later, Magnez Akliouche put Monaco ahead. The youngster Lamine Yamal has equalised for 10-man Barcelona. Earlier on, full-time, it finished at Feyenoord 0 by Leverkusen 4, Red Star Belgrade 1, Benfica 2. In the Women's Champions League this evening, all full-time scores. Qualification, Sporting 1, Real Madrid 2, Galatasaray 2, Slavia Prague 2, and St. Pölten of Austria 3, Mura of Slovenia 0. A couple of games to tell you about and a couple of bagels at half-time in Super League. It's Huddersfield 22, Castleford 0, and Wigan 28, Salford 0. And a reminder, Travis Head scored an unbeaten 154 as Australia claimed a 7-wicket win over England in their first one-day international at Trent Bridge. OK, up next on Talksport, let's get the half-time odds with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Get money back as a free bet up to £10 if one leg of your Football 5 Plus acca lets you down. Pre-match straight line accas only. Odds of 3-1 or greater. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Well, it hasn't been too eventful, but you get the feeling Atalanta at home might go for it in the second half, maybe open up some space. If you think Atalanta are going to win the game, it's currently 19-5 with Ladbrokes. The Arsenal win 11-8, and the draw also 11-8. Those odds, all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 plus, of course, and make sure you check out begambleaware.org.
Odds update on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our Odds Boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So much for Mikel Arteta to mull over at the break. We will see the likes of Raheem Sterling and Leandro Trossard at the break in Bergamo. Here on Talksport in the Champions League, it's Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0.
Kick-off on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Get money back as a free bet up to £10 if one leg of your Football 5 Plus acca lets you down. Pre-match straight line accas only. Odds of 3-1 or greater. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday, so give yourself something to look forward to next summer and lock in some sunshine with just a £60 deposit per person. We're always giving you more, so you can spread the cost with flexible monthly payments. Book now, direct from Birmingham Airport. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. Up-to-national protected, subject to availability and conditions.
Kick off on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our Odds Boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Looking for a place that combines rich culture, modern luxury and experiences you won't forget? This is Qatar, where tradition and modern innovation come together seamlessly. Kick things off in Doha with the Museum of Islamic Art. It's a masterpiece, blending centuries of history with bold design. Then you've got the National Museum of Qatar, where its desert rose structure brings the region's story to life in a whole new way. Into art, Qatar's got it. From public and street art installations across the city to the vibrant Qatara Cultural Village, where contemporary art merges with traditional Arabic architecture. Creativity is bursting out everywhere you look. And when hunger strikes, head on over to Souk Waqif for authentic Qatari flavors, surrounded by the buzz of the city's most vibrant, bustling market. Qatar's authentic arts and culture scene leaves you feeling inspired, recharged, and more connected to the world. Discover it all at visitqatar.com.
Stop, listen, chicken. The 10 mini fillet bucket, $7.99. 10 succulent mini fillets. Buy, eat, digest. Good, repeat. Believe in deals, believe in chicken. KFC. Until 6th of October, subject to availability. Participating restaurants only. Not available on delivery. See website for full T's and C's.
Brilliant move from Travis Perkins. Unbelievable, Jeff, offering 2400 Millwall start kits for just $9.49. And 3.5 by 300mm punk metal cutting disc for just $3.39, but only with a trade account. Question is, can they lower even more trade prices? Oh, they've done it. They've lowered prices on thousands of trade products. What a club! Get trade discounts when you join the club. Sign up today at travisperkins.co.uk. Travis Perkins, doing what matters for the trade. Prices x 20% VAT, terms apply.
At Lidl, get 50% off all apples with Lidl Plus. That's 50% off the sweetest pink ladies, the best of British Bramleys and Galas. So whether you pick them for that super crunch or the little one's lunch, download Lidl Plus and get 50% off all apples today. 18 plus GB only. T's and C's apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV. Subject to availability. Selected stores. Offer ends 2nd of October 24.
Put yourself at the heart of the action with Betfred's Bet Builder. With our new Bet Builder Bundles feature, you can combine multiple bet builders across different matches into one accumulator. Choose one of our pre-selected bundles in shops or create your own. Betfred's Bet Builder Bundles. Love football, Betfred. Selected matches and in shops only, 90 minutes only. Maximum stakes apply. Markets made available at Betfred's discretion. T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Champions League live on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
On 1089 and 1053 medium wave, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker.
Kick off with Hugh Woozencraft
on Talksport.
It wasn't disrespectful, it's just a phrase I use, but he said, "Let's go now." And I clicked for a minute, I said, "What does he mean by that?" And then he repeated it again. And I just feel like anyone in here, if I was...
Boxing, this is what happens, this is boxing, these things happen, so... You know, we're fighting Saturday. Let's go.
So as I was saying, at the press conference, I just feel like you should never let anyone take an inch because they'll end up taking a mile. You know what I mean, Dan?
Sorry?
That's it.
Let's hope it's as entertaining as in the ring as it was at the press conference a little bit earlier on between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. This Saturday, TalkSport will bring you live World Heavyweight Championship boxing at a packed-out Wembley Stadium. Going to have a fantastic team on the night, bringing you closer to the action than anyone else. You'll also hear every minute of Liam Gallagher's special Wembley performance. That's Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois this Saturday night right here on the TalkSport network. You can also follow all of the reaction, all of the build-up on the TalkSport Boxing YouTube channel. You're listening, by the way, to Champions League live here on TalkSport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. You can rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has 450 branches with all the vehicles your business needs. And at the break in Bergamo, it is Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Not much to write home about, as I said a few minutes ago. In that first half, we're hoping for a lot more goalmouth action. The second half coming up very shortly indeed. And just a reminder, TalkSport's very own Shabana Ahern and her twin sister, professional footballer Rusha Littlejohn, are bringing you The Kickback. It's a brand new weekly show with a look and feel like you've never seen before here on the TalkSport network. This week, they've been joined by WSL legends Anita Asante and Beth Mead to preview the upcoming season. They'll also discuss Viv Miedema's return to Arsenal with her new club, Manchester City. So just head over to the TalkSport YouTube channel right now to watch the first episode. Of course, you can hear the first game of the new Women's Super League season. Tomorrow night is Chelsea at take on Aston Villa. It is live for you on TalkSport 2 from 7 o'clock. On Saturday, exclusive Premier League action returns. We'll have West Ham taking on Chelsea at the London Stadium. All the build-up from 11 a.m. with Resmin Chowdhury. Of course, we'll have Game Day Live with Adrian Durham from 2:30. He'll be alongside the former Watford captain Troy Deeney and the former Chelsea defender Scott Minto, among our excellent cast of reporters and analysts. Over on TalkSport 2 exclusively this weekend at 12:30, we'll have Sunderland against Middlesbrough in the Championship. And exclusively at 3 o'clock, Spurs versus Brentford in a London derby in the Premier League. That match not on UK TV, so make sure you've downloaded the TalkSport app. And then on Sunday, 12:30, we'll have Arsenal against Manchester City in the Women's Super League, exclusively on TalkSport 2 from 12:30. The Sunday session begins here on TalkSport at 1:30, and of course includes each and every moment. You will not miss any of the big game at the Etihad between Manchester City and Arsenal in the Premier League as well. Before then, Arsenal have some work to do, though. They're away from home against Atalanta in the first game of their Champions League season, and they haven't offered much in that first 45 minutes. Let's head to our commentary team, Joe Shannon, who's alongside the former England striker Darren Bent. Darren, we've had a few minutes to mull it over now since that half-time whistle has gone, and in fact there were a number of players in that Arsenal team who need to show more, not just the players who we've mentioned who are playing for places. What about some of those stalwarts? Declan Rice has returned to the team this evening. We haven't seen too much of him. There are also the likes of Martinelli, who we need to see just a little bit more of. It isn't just those who are playing for places. Why haven't some of the ones that we'd expect to really run a game like this, why haven't they done it?
Well, I think so many of them have just been in between a little bit. I mean, Declan Rice is trying again. He missed the game at the weekend, of course. He's come back in, showed a lot of energy, but I think the quality in the final third for him by himself hasn't been quite there. I'm not sure about Bukayo Saka. Is he carrying an injury? Did he need to start tonight? Probably not. But Martinelli's probably the one where a couple of years ago he had a fantastic season. I think the 22-23 season, 15 goals. What was it? 15 goals, 5 assists, was really sharp. Only 6 goals in the Premier League last season. Looked off it. That's probably an area there which I think's up for grabs. I think against Manchester City, I expect Kai Havertz on tonight's showing to go back to that centre forward role. I expect Leandro Trossard to come into that midfield as the 10 with Partey and Declan Rice. And then you look at that left hand side with Gabriel Martinelli, and I genuinely think that's up for grabs, and that's what I'm thinking for Martinelli tonight. I thought he'd been at it, he'd been trying to take the fullback on, trying to make things happen, because he must know he's got Raheem Sterling there waiting, chomping at the bit to show everyone that he's not lost it. He's only 29 years old, Raheem Sterling. He must be itching to get an opportunity. So,
but if I'm Mikel Arteta, I make that move now. I give this team 45 minutes to work out what they're going to be doing before they go to the Etihad at the weekend and possibly do it. I would bring on a Trossard as soon as possible to see if they can make that change. Anyway, he hasn't done it by the look of it, Mikel Arteta. The players back out there on the pitch at the break, live here on Talksport. The first week of Champions League football continues, and it is Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Fingers crossed, praying for some goals and some entertainment in this second half in the company of Joe Shannon and the former England striker Darren Bent.
Well, KG, though it might have been, as you say, Hugh, there are no changes for the start of the second half. It looks like it's as you were in northern Italy, and so Atalanta will restart the game playing from right to left in the dark blue and black striped shirts, black shorts and black socks, and Arsenal in the red and white, playing from left to right in the second half towards the end that houses the travelling supporters in one corner of the stadium. You can hear Mikel Arteta right away, very early on, beneath the floodlights outside his technical area and appealing towards the referee. Atalanta go back to goalkeeper Karnaseki. It's the same back three, of course. Jim Citi, Hien and Kolasinac, Zappacosta, Darun, Ederson and Ruggeri in midfield. Lookman and De Ketelaere the side of Retegui up front. For Arsenal, Raya in goal, White, Gabriel on the ball now, Saliba and Timber at the back, Rice, Partey and Havertz in midfield, Saka, Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus up front. Arsenal playing from left to right, 0-0 the score live on Talksport, and I'm sure Mikel Arteta hoping for much more in the second half from an attacking perspective, Darren Bent.
Yeah, especially in that final third, show a little bit of quality. I mean, I said at the top of the commentary that styles makes fights. Well, clearly I was completely wrong about that, because that first half has been is clash. So, but no, second half, I mean, with Atalanta still playing that 3-4-3 system and Arsenal in their 4-3-3, you just expect something to give, because they would have known Atalanta conceded a lot of chances, but they haven't made them defend. They haven't asked too many questions, and I think they need to up their tempo. I think that first half was far too lethargic, too slow. It was easy for Atalanta to get back into shape. I think one thing they need to do, and it looks like they've done that in the first minute, just in that final third, really short, sharp passes, and someone running behind, just mix it up a little bit.
Here is Gabriel, midway inside opposition territory, with the red boots on out to the far side, and Rice drives away from Darun into a slightly more central area, back now to Saliba in the centre circle. The one thing that has been excellent about Arsenal tonight is their performance defensively once again. It is such an excellent back five, goalkeeper and the four that now almost roll off the top. Foul by Havertz on Ederson in the centre circle. That'll be a free kick to Atalanta, who haven't shown a great deal of ambition, you have to say. The home team, only one victory in their last 7 home Champions League matches for Atalanta. Ederson has managed to glide away from Havertz, out to the near side, the left, and Ruggieri. Ederson gets the return ball, left-hand edge of the penalty area. He's beyond Thomas Partey, and then goes to ground, and the referee's given a penalty. Challenged by Partey on Ederson, and Clement Turpin very quickly pointed to the spot. Partey allowed Ederson beyond him far too easily. Then he looked like he was grappling with him. The contact was relatively minimal, but was there a coming together between the feet of both players? VAR will check it, but Atalanta at the moment have a penalty kick.
I mean, it's great from Ederson, just face up Thomas Partey, just nutmegs him, a lovely little nutmeg, but to me it looked like the contact started outside the box where Thomas Partey, clearly it's a foul, had hold of him, but he almost lets go as they get into the box, so it'd be interesting to see what VAR do with this one. But it's great play from Ederson, but Thomas Partey is one of those players, again this game, who's just been a yard off it. His pass has not been quite there, it's not been crisp, it's not been clean, and that situation at Ederson, he's handled himself really well, considering he picked up that booking really early. He's done really well since then. He's been disciplined, he's been controlled, and it looks like he's won his side a penalty.
Mikel Arteta wagging his finger, and Thomas Partey looked really slow and cumbersome there. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0, but 3.5 minutes into the second half on Talksport, we have a major flashpoint really for the first time in the game. Now, David Raya is getting some information from the goalkeeping coach Inaki Kanya, I think, on the near side of the field, and that could well be, you'd imagine, information about potential penalty takers, and Retegui is the man who is holding onto the ball at the moment. He has already scored a penalty this season for Atalanta in the Serie A victory over Lecce. The VAR check continues, and still waiting for confirmation that Atalanta do actually have a penalty here. I think you're right, Darren. It's a question of where the contact was between Partey and Ederson.
Well, the first meaningful bit of contact was definitely about a yard outside the box, and then as they're both kind of falling into the box, that's when Thomas Partey lets go. So I think this could be overturned and be given as a free kick.
This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT, the home of European football. A long wait here for Atalanta and their supporters. The whistles of the 25,000 or so here at the Stadio di Bergamo, and the flags are being waved behind the goal. Gasparini is pacing up and down inside his technical area too. Arsenal might be about to face a penalty here in the Champions League. Referee has got his hand to his ear, and the decision is still penalty. VAR check completes, and after consultation with Jérôme Brissard, referee Turpin confirms the decision. It is a penalty to Atalanta.
Yeah, again, I thought the contact started outside, but maybe Thomas Partey hadn't let go by the time they got into the box. He continued to pull him, but again, really sluggish from Thomas Partey for, again, today just hasn't been quite sharp, hasn't been quite at it. And again, you get punished. If you come out second half, certainly come to a place like this, if you're not at it from the very first minute, you get punished.
Well, David Raya, remember, Champions League penalty heroics against Porto in the round of 16 last season. He's clearly had some extra information given to him by Inaki Kanya, the goalkeeping coach, about where Retegui will try and put this penalty. He's had an excellent scoring start to his Atalanta career. Now the end away to our left-hand side. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 on Talksport. Retegui will run up from just inside the penalty area. It'll be right-footed up against Raya, all in bright yellow. Here goes Retegui with a very stuttering run-up. Saved by Raya to his right-hand side, and they save the rebound as well. What a stunning double stop from Arsenal's goalkeeper. That's why he's up there with the very best in Europe. His reflexes are so razor-sharp. The penalty save was good, but the second save to turn away the header, that's remarkable athleticism from David Raya. It's a wonder double save. It's out of play for a corner.
What a second save that is. Yes, the first penalty save is incredible, getting himself down to his right-hand side. I mean, it wasn't the best of penalties, but to have the ability to get back up and spring over to the left-hand side, it was similar to the Aston Villa one from Ollie Watkins.
I think it was better. Corners come to Ederson, edge of the D, tries to drill it goalwards, blocked by Jurrien Timber. That elasticity of David Raya, absolutely remarkable. He's clawed that away, Darren, from on the goal line, the downward header from the rebound from Retegui. It's one of the saves of the season without question, once again from the Arsenal goalkeeper, and it's still 0-0.
I totally agree. It's better than the Ollie Watkins one because that one's in the corner and it's to the ground. He heads it low, Retegui heads it into the ground, and David Raya springs up so quickly and manages to tip it out. And not only does he tip it out, he doesn't drop to an Atalanta play. He tips it almost away from goal. That is an absolute unbelievable double save. The penalty save was good, but for me the second save is probably, you won't see a better save than that all season.
The goal-scoring touch eludes Retegui, but the goal-saving touch of a Golden Glove winner from last season, David Raya, to plunge to his right to make the first save, well, that was good, but to get up and then dive to the opposite side at a much tougher angle to turn away the header from on the goal line, and the big celebrations from Raya, almost as though he scored, and Arsenal's clean sheet remains intact. But a big warning to them, 8 minutes into the second half, 0-0 on Talksport. It was a moment of absolute brilliance, really top-class goalkeeping.
Absolute top quality, but maybe that's just a wake-up call that Arsenal needed, because again, lethargic, come out in the second half, Thomas Partey not good enough in possession, then when he gets faced up 1v1, doesn't show discipline, grabs the defender, tries to take the easy way out, gives the penalty away, and David Raya has had to almost bail them out. But, I mean, again, you can't overemphasise how good those two saves were, because he goes to his right to save the penalty, gets up, and then the header, it's a decent header to the other corner, and he somehow manages to pick himself up and fly to the left, keep it out. I mean, it's a great save.
Because if you picture the Watkins header, and I'm sure so many of you have seen the replay of that David Raya double save against Aston Villa, it's a brilliant save, but it's a little closer to the goalkeeper. This one is a downward header. It's bouncing on the goal line.
It's a complete opposite direction, Joe. I mean, the Ollie Watkins one is more central. This one's going into the far corner, and he manages to get up and claw it away. It really is an unbelievable save.
0-0 the score. Raya aside, Arsenal lacklustre at the start of the second half. De Ketelaere corner the penalty area with a good cross, headed away by William Saliba. Now Bukayo Saka from just outside the penalty area hooks the ball high downfield up into the sky, and the floodlights on, of course, here in Italy now. Gabriel Jesus again can't make it stick, and Atalanta have possession midway inside their own half of the field.
I think it's time for changes, Joe.
Yeah.
I think Mikel Arteta now to look at his bench and go, do you know what? We're just not quite at it. We're a yard off it all over the pitch. We're not getting close to people. We've just had a warning there where David Raya had to pull out the save of the century to bail us out. It's time to make changes.
I remind you of the Arsenal subs: Calafiori, Kivior, Neto, Jorginho, Sterling, Trossard, as Gabriel Jesus tries to reach the ball on the edge of the penalty area, but it's flicked all the way back to the Atalanta goalkeeper Karnasecki. Still 0-0 on Talksport. And then a collection of youngsters on the bench for Arsenal. Wanyeri, who of course we know is very much part of the first team setup, and then Porter, Lewis Skelly, Butler, Oyedeji, Gower and Oulad and Hand. Two London derbies live for you in the Premier League this weekend on the network. West Ham against Chelsea on Talksport on Saturday at 12:30. Tottenham Brentford at 3. That's on Talksport 2. Make sure you download our app to swipe between both stations at your leisure. And you want to get your calls in for the sports bar and to tell us about your reaction to that David Raya double save, if nothing else. 03717 223344. It is White in the air for Arsenal. He's pulled it back towards Jesus. It's cleared away from the edge of the penalty area by Jim Seaty. For a moment there, Arsenal were nearly in, almost out of nothing. How's Retegui going to react to being denied from the spot and from the rebound? He's played it back to Lookman, who's standing right in front of the Atalanta dugout. Here is Ruggieri right on the halfway line. Ball in field to Ederson, and now waiting in the centre circle is Martin de Roon. Atalanta are continuing here in Bergamo to dominate possession, and Arsenal have not really responded at all to so nearly going behind Darren Beck.
No, I think that might bring them into life, that penalty save from David Raya, but it's done the opposite. Atalanta are the ones now getting the ball, believe that they can really hurt this Arsenal side, creating chances.
Here is Lookman on the corner of the penalty area, not next Thomas Partey. White half gets across and makes a lunging challenge, and Rice and Saliba between them. They get in front of Retegui, who was sandwiched between the two red and white shirts. Rice has had to run across the edge of his own 18-yard line to go back to Raya. Raya steady with the ball at his feet, goes square to Gabriel, and Arsenal can build again. I'm sure Arsenal changes will be on the way as we head towards the hour mark. Their first game back in the Champions League again for a second season in a row. Their first game in the new league phase. All of the reaction to the week's Champions League football will be on Sunday at 9 o'clock with the Trans-Europe Express. Danny Kelly and Andy Brassel, always a terrific show. Actually, one of my personal favourites on Talksport. Brilliant roundup as ever of the action across Europe as the week goes on. Here comes a double change for Arsenal. Partey and Jesus leaving the field. And probably two of Arsenal's least effective players tonight. And Trossard and Jorginho are called for from the bench, Darren.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think Gabriel Jesus hasn't done himself justice this evening. Hasn't held the ball up nowhere near well enough. Hasn't brought others into play. Hasn't taken the ball in areas we know he could be really effective. He's been too easy to play against as well. And I think Kai Havertz now will push up back to that natural position that he's certainly been playing for Arsenal. And then Trossard as well coming on. Jorginho coming on. Partey have to come off as well because of he just hasn't quite looked at it as well. Gave the penalty away. But even in possession, Thomas Partey's been so slow. Look, usually he gets the ball, gets his head up and breaks the line of a pass. He hasn't been doing that either. So these changes make a lot of sense to me.
Trossard, whose only goal so far this season came off the bench away at Aston Villa in the Premier League. And Jorginho played 90 minutes in the North London derby. Those his first minutes of the season. Here is Gabriel for Arsenal. So the changes come. And before the hour mark, 58 minutes gone, live on Talksport, Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Here is Trossard. First couple of touches for him, midway inside his own half of the field. Martinelli, hardly mentioned his name tonight. Shuffles the ball out wide to the left and Timber.
He might be the next one.
Well, he might be.
Martinelli, because again, we spoke about Gabriel Jesus, we spoke about Martinelli. Neither of them they haven't been effective whatsoever in this game so far. And I think he's already put Kai Havertz back in his natural position by bringing on Trossard and Jorginho. I just wonder now, Sterling, is he the next one that we see? Because he needs minutes.
Yeah, got a few off the bench against Tottenham at the weekend, but has hardly played, of course, this season. Raheem Sterling, Havertz, midway inside the Atalanta half, wide to the near side, the right, and Saka all left foot. Remember, it's Manchester City away in the Premier League on Sunday. And Talksport will bring you updates of that on the Sunday session. We've also got live boxing on Saturday night from Wembley. Full commentary of Joshua against Dubois. Here is Jorginho, turning to Italy tonight, of course. Back to Raya. And now Jorginho again collects possession midway inside his own half of the field. Saliba back to Raya once again. All in bright yellow. The magic moment of the game by an absolute mile. That double save from the penalty from David Raya. Out of play via the boot of Lookman now in front of the Arsenal dugout, and Ben White will take a throw. Arsenal playing from left to right. A quick throw from White. It was a very intelligent idea. Martinelli was clear inside the penalty area, but the referees had to call a halt because Atalanta are going to make a change, and it's Juan Cuadrado who is going to replace Charles de Ketelaere, who has not been quite as lively as he can often be so far tonight. Former Chelsea man Cuadrado, 36 years of age, nowadays takes to the field. And at the moment, Darren, you'd have to say Atalanta continue to look like the team more likely to open the scoring.
Yeah, I just wonder now with Jorginho being on the pitch, though, more comfortable possession for Arsenal. He's he's the master of it, controlling the tempo of a game. Again, takes the ball in areas where other people might be reluctant to go in case they give the ball away. He's been so effective at doing that for so long. I remember hearing Chelsea fans saying when he left, they lost that control in midfield. And you've seen it for Arsenal, how good he can be. So I think the game may change now that he's on the pitch.
Quick throw by White into the penalty area, headed away by Hien. It'll be a corner to Arsenal in front of the supporters gathered in one corner of the stadium away to our right on the near side of the field. You can hear the noise of the Arsenal fans live on Talksport. An hour gone and it's still 0-0. Saliba is forward, somehow 0-0, because Raya's double save from Rettig's penalty and then the rebound, one of the most extraordinary bits of goalkeeping anyone will witness all season. Saka will take the corner for us. It'll be a left-footed in-swinging delivery. Saliba's got two arms up into the air in the 6-yard box, and of course set plays is where Arsenal can be so dangerous. Gabriel, who scored on Sunday, the winner, is there again as well. Saliba's right underneath the crossbar here. Big deep breath from Bukayo Saka. 29 minutes left. Saka to take the corner away to our right. Drifted in high, left-footed, deep to the back post. Havertz back across, almost falls for White. Turned behind by Darude, but the referee had spotted a foul. Mikel Arteta not happy with the decision. free kick goes the way of Atalanta.
Some good acting there for Mikel Arteta. I think he was almost insinuating that the referee was just waiting to blow his whistle for a foul. I mean, it was fantastic acting there for Mikel Arteta. But again, Arsenal set plays, we know how dangerous they are, and you almost let the other team off the hook. When you commit a foul or you block someone or a little bit too much force, when you're as good as set plays as Arsenal are, I almost feel like you're letting them off the hook by doing that.
It didn't even have to be a lip reader there, did you, to see what Arteta was, what he was trying to say, what he was trying to get at. Timbers ball forward up to the halfway line, a poor ball intercepted by here, tall and slender at the heart of the Atalanta back line. Now Darun with the long hair, squared to Jim Seating, just inside Arsenal territory. And 0-0 it remains on Talksport. Sports Bar comes after us with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy taking all of your reaction to tonight's game. 03717 223344 to have your say. Good interception by Kolasinac now inside the centre circle. He can't keep possession against his old club, but then Kolasinac is fouled. I think it was Rice who was penalised with the initial challenge. Elsewhere in the Champions League tonight, Atletico Madrid 1, Leipzig 1, Brest 2, as Sturm Graz 1 is the latest score. Monaco 1, Barcelona 1, all of those in the 8 o'clock kickoffs, and in the earlier matches, these full-time scores: Red Star Belgrade 1, Benfica 2, and Feyenoord 0, Bayer Leverkusen 4. Kolasinac infield from the left, he can't find Lookman, smuggled away upfield by Jorginho, and now Havertz collects the ball in the central area, square to Trossard, back to the centre circle, and Jorginho. There seems a slightly better balance now for Arsenal that Trossard and Jorginho have come on. They're already seeing more possession in the game. Martinelli dribbles infield from the left, and here's Jorginho on the edge of the penalty area trying to poke it through the middle. Of course, he doesn't score many. I actually thought the shot might have been the best option there because there was a gap in front of him on the edge of the penalty area. In the end, it's come to nothing. It's a goal kick, Darren.
Yeah, he could have travelled maybe 4 or 5 yards further forward, right to the edge of the box and got a shot off. Just mix it up a little bit. I think at times Arsenal have been a little bit too precise, a little bit predictable in what they're going to do. Little 1-2s around the box. Maybe someone have a shot from range. You never know. The keeper parries it. Someone puts a rebound in. Just make Atalanta defend, make them think, because at the minute they know exactly what's coming because Arsenal haven't changed anything.
Jorginho's only goal for Arsenal came in the Champions League last season against Lens. Here he is again, the Italian, little flick out to his left-hand side, and Timber, who's standing in the left-back position. Much greater possession of the ball now for Arsenal. And a little bit more conviction about the way that they're playing on the ball. Here is Rice on the edge of his own penalty area. Square pass to his left, and Gabriel. Forward ball towards the halfway line, intercepted by Kolasinac before it could reach Havertz. And now a header by Hien in the centre circle. Quadrado squared infield with his cushion header. And now he collects possession, the veteran. He's fouled, tackled from behind by White, right in front of the referee, who is in close attention. And Quadrado now is rolling along the ground. Atalanta are going to make another substitution here. It looks like maybe a double change for them. It's been I think a frustrating game to watch if you're an Arsenal supporter, certainly, and probably likewise Atalanta too, particularly after that missed penalty. Still no great rhythm in attack, I don't think, really, for either team.
No, I haven't really got it going yet. Again, Atalanta probably had the best opportunity with that double save from David Raya, but even they've been a bit predictable as well in open play, not really created too many opportunities. I mean, Arsenal defended really, really well. They've defended crosses well. They've put their bodies on the line when it comes to blocks, but I don't think, again, Atalanta have really made them have to think about anything too much. It's all been predictable. It's all been in front of them. They're not breaking lines. No one's running in behind trying to stretch the pitch. It's all been, again, in front of Arsenal.
Here is Ederson. 20 minutes into the second half now. And Atalanta waiting to make that double substitution. Nicolo Zaniolo, who was in the Premier League at Aston Villa on loan last season, is one of the two players about to come on. And on the right is Zappacosta, far side of the field. Back now to Jim Seating. Good noise from the 25,000 or so in the stadium. Lookman on the corner of the penalty area. Wide right to Zappacosta, hangs up the cross over the head of Quadrado, nodded clear by Saliba, flicked further away from danger by Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. Now here, lift of the centre circle, out to the right once more. Zappacosta collects possession via the touch of Jim Seating. Jim Seating on the ball again now, faced up by Trossard. Arsenal have got everybody in red and white, back behind the ball away to our left-hand side. Now it's with Quadrado. First chance for the number 7, ready to run at the Arsenal back line. Jigs it field and shoots, right-footed just over the top. Curling effort from Cuadrado. Looked for a moment like it was bound for the top corner. Just a yard or two over the top of David Raya's crossbar. Stays 0-0.
Lovely strike from Cuadrado, and really it was a nice technique, and it was the right idea of what he does. He didn't go for power, he went for almost that kind of whip into that far corner just from the outside the edge of the box, and he faces Bukayo Saka up, who's not a defender. He recognises that and goes, you know what, I'm going to dip my shoulder inside, go past him and get a shot off, mix it up a little bit, and he does that, and he just gets his technique all wrong, gets a bit too much on it, but the right idea from him.
Long ball downfield by Raya towards Havertz, well dealt with by the backpedaling Kolasinac, and now Lookman at the other end has got a chance to collect possession, and suddenly it's 3 against 3 here for Atalanta. Wide they go to Zappacosta to try and drill in a low cross. Gabriel is there in the way for Arsenal. Back line and a goalkeeper and a team that pride themselves on clean sheets. Early ball into the penalty area, aimed at Retegui. Again, Gabriel in the way to cut out the cross of Jim Seating. Now, Timber's touch is heavy, surrounded by blue shirts, and that's an Atalanta throw. Midway through the second half and into the final quarter of the game, live on Talksport. No real uptick in performance from Arsenal. In fact, Karnaseki, the Atalanta goalkeeper, really has been a spectator in the second half up to this point.
Yeah, haven't tested him at all.
Ball by Edison down the middle. Sorry, Darren, too long for Cuadrado, and Raya is out to clear.
Yeah, no, they haven't tested him at all, haven't done anything, haven't tried to break lines Arsenal at the minute, and to be fair, Atalanta, they're the ones who've reacted really well. I just thought maybe that double penalty save from Raya would spark Arsenal to life to go, do you know what, that's a warning, let's up our performances, and it just hasn't been that way.
No, it hasn't. Manchester City away in the Premier League to come on Sunday. Of course, City will have an extra 24 hours to recover for that. And of course, Pep Guardiola will have the same sort of selection dilemmas as no doubt Mikel Arteta will too. As Raya clips the ball downfield, Havertz goes up with the header with Jim Seating, wins it, infield into the centre circle, and suddenly Trossard goes up through the gears, pokes it down the middle, the ball is heavy towards Martinelli, and it's shepherded back to the goalkeeper by Ruggiero.
It's little moments like that as well. Trossard does the first bit really well by turning and breaking the lines and not passing it but driving with it. And when he does that, it just overhits the pass. It's a good run from Martinelli from left to right in between the fullback and the centre half. But Trossard just gets a bit too much on it and it rolls through to the goalkeeper.
Mikel Arteta's screaming at the referee because Saliba caught by Retegui in an aerial challenge. The Frenchman going to ground, and he's quickly back up to his feet.
For me, he's someone you can't afford to lose, William Saliba. We saw how it derailed Arsenal a couple of years ago when he went down with an injury. He has to stay fit.
Here comes that double change. Zappacosta and Retegui going off for Atalanta. So Retegui's telling contribution ultimately will be the penalty that was saved, and the rebound turned away by the goalkeeper Raya as well. One of the most remarkable saves of the Champions League season. I think whatever happens across the competition this year, it'll be up there with the very best. And the two to come on, we mentioned Nicolo Zaniolo, and the other change, Raul Bellanova. So that is a straight swap pretty much in both areas for Atalanta. Bellanova, who is a summer signing, his second spell at Atalanta. Now then, White will take a free kick for Arsenal just shy of the halfway line. Chips the ball up the right hand side, chasing his Trossard, who collects possession. Back to Bukayo Saka, who hasn't really had the opportunity to run at Ruggiero across the course of the 70 minutes so far. 0-0 the score, and still plenty of jeopardy in the game. It's with Gabriel on the halfway line. Forward to Timber. Timber works the ball out wide to the left-hand side of Martinelli, taking on the newly arrived Bellanova. And he shapes to scamper in field here. Martinelli finds Jorginho about 10 yards from the corner of the penalty area. Back to Gabriel, and Arsenal playing quite conservatively, even in an attacking area. Martinelli's now dispossessed by Bellanova, and Lookman trots over the halfway line, checks his run, plays the ball back and square to the road, and another half-hearted attempt at an attack from Arsenal comes to an end. Still 0-0. Tripped by Saka on Cuadrado. He's not actually given the free kick yet, the referee. It took a while to blow his whistle. Play's certainly been stopped now.
I mean, every challenge on Cuadrado is almost like he's been absolutely poleaxed by somebody. I mean, he rolls around, and I mean, there's a little bit of contact. I mean, he brushed the top of Cuadrado's foot, and it goes down like he's had the worst injury ever. I mean, there's things you don't like to see that, and it becomes frustrating as a player. And I'm sure Arsenal players are starting to feel that already, because he's been on the pitch 10 minutes and he's gone down twice, like he's been absolutely hammered.
Darren Bent with us for commentary tonight. Former England striker, live on Talksport. Forward by Ederson, gets the return ball from Cuadrado. A little pocket of space for Ederson to occupy. Midway inside the Arsenal half, he's worked the angle to thread it wide to the near side of Ruggieri. Now Cuadrado with a high crossfield ball, dreadful. Overhit, Belanova can't get there. I mean, we have talked about Arsenal lacking something in attack tonight. And are we going to see another substitution here? I think we are. Here comes Calafiori back from injury. And Saka's going to come off. And Raheem Sterling is going to come on too for his second appearance in an Arsenal shirt. The man on loan from Chelsea. And it's straight swaps in either position here because Jurrien Timber is also going to be replaced. So Calafiori and Sterling for Timber and Saka. That was what you were calling for, Darren Bent, the introduction of Raheem Sterling. How influential do you think he can be for Arsenal in this loan spell, I wonder?
I think he can be really influential because that Saka can't play every minute of every game. We've seen that already. He's durable, but he will pick up the odd knock here and there. But for someone like Raheem Sterling, he's only 30 years old. He's got so much quality. He's only 29, sorry. He's got so much quality. We even saw it at Chelsea in moments where he's unplayable at times. Just maybe lost a little bit of structure, a little bit of belief. But I think Mikel Arteta has shown belief in him by going to get him and bring him to Arsenal on loan. So I expect him to thrive in this type of environment.
Jorginho collects the ball midway inside his own half of the field, and Gabriel will go back to Raya. And for Calafiori, the central defender slash left back who we saw excel at the Euros for Italy over the course of the summer. It's a third substitute appearance for Arsenal since joining the club from Bologna. And now Lookman has brought the ball down on the edge of the Arsenal penalty area, twists away from Gabriel, not beyond Declan Rice. 50-50, that's come back to Cuadrado with a curler just beyond the far post, and for all of his antics off the ball, that's twice now Cuadrado trying to curl the ball into Raya's left-hand post, and he's not been far away from doing so on either occasion. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0.
Well, this is being direct with Cuadrado, and again, he just gets it, not enough on that. I think David Raya would have saved it anyway, but again, I like the fact that he's going, do you know what, every single time he picks it up, I'm not going to take the safe option by playing it 5 yards backwards and then we allow Arsenal to get back into shape. I'm going to face whoever I'm up against, I'm going to shift it and I'm going to try and get a shot off. And he's done that, and he doesn't execute it right, but it's the right idea, going for that far post.
Oh, and here is Raheem Sterling after a good hold-up play. He's poked it through the middle, and Martinelli hits it over the top. Massive chance miss for Arsenal. Great hold-up play by Havertz in the build-up. Sterling with an excellent pass through to Martinelli, making that diagonal run into the penalty area. Think he was offside. I mean, he should score. At the very least, he should hit the target, Martinelli. He's 10-12 yards out, and it's miles over the bar.
Everything about that finish is wrong. I mean, the timing of the run's fantastic. He might have been offside by a boot, but we're not sure. Raheem Sterling does really well, just leaves it in an area. And when Martinelli's in that situation, he's got the opportunity to either go round the goalkeeper or just roll it past his feet. He almost scoops it like a little dab into the ground, and he gets far too much on it. And I mean, that's someone who's lacking real confidence, because a couple of seasons ago he would have buried that. But it was a great run, great timing of the run, but really poor execution. He's practically on the penalty spot and manages to get it horribly wrong by getting too much on it and lifting it over the bar.
You said it, Darren, not scored since March for Arsenal, Gabriel Martinelli, and it's still 0-0 with 15 minutes plus added time to go. Havertz foul in the left wing position. Clumsy challenge coming in from Kolasinac, and Arsenal have a free kick in a dangerous position, and Havertz plays with such great authority these days in that central striking role. He's simply got to play there for Arsenal, hasn't he?
He has to, because he holds the ball up really well, he draws fouls in, he's big enough to win his headers, he can score a goal, he can create. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and again, I was one of those who questioned Mikel Arteta to bringing him in. He's almost overnight transformed himself into a must-stay in Arsenal's team regardless, which I'm pretty sure is why Arsenal didn't go out and splurge them on a big name centre-forward.
Stay in that position, right?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. As a centre-forward, I think that's his more natural position now.
Declan Rice over the ball from the free kick. And he's actually had to place it again. It's about a yard or so infield, and it's level the edge of the 18-yard box. You can hear the whistles of the Atalanta fans. 0-0 the score, 14 minutes to go. Declan Rice, one arm up into the air. Here comes the delivery, and it's absolutely awful. He's overhit it by a mile, and it's 10 yards over the crossbar.
That again sums it up, Declan Rice. I mean, just not been quite at the races today. I mean, that area there, I mean, he's got great technique, great quality, Declan Rice, and certainly those wide areas. I can remember one last season against West Ham. He puts it right under the crossbar, and I think Gabriel or Saliba scores. It's fantastic quality that he's got. But again tonight, gets too much on it and it flies over the crossbar from a really inviting situation as well, just outside the box to the left, just gets a bit too much on it and it flies out for a goal kick.
Sports Bar on the way for you next, once we're done here live on Talksport, and then breakfast from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, Arsenal invincible Ray Parlour with Alan Brazil. Here is Zaniolo for Atalanta. White boots on. Back to Cuadrado. Square ball that's rolled about 20 yards into the feet of Derone. And he gets it back now from Villanova. Derone tries to thread the ball up the inside right channel. He can't find Lookman. Arsenal now have it back with the ever-tenacious Trossard. Little 1-2 between him and Sterling, who looks lively since coming on. Trossard's ball square. Another misplaced pass. And Calafiori had no chance of reaching them. Will be shepherded back to the goalkeeper. Has been a poor game overall in terms of quality. The obvious exception to that being a world-class double save from David Raya that was even better from the Ollie Watkins double save from the Aston Villa match in the Premier League earlier on this season. I still can't, I know I keep going on about it, I still can't quite believe that he got to the rebound from the header from Rettigui.
Especially, I've watched goalkeepers do sessions where they make a save, then they've got to pop up and make the next save that comes in, and they do it. So it's not unknown to a goalkeeper, but to be able to do it as quickly as he's done it just there was, honestly, it's a sensational save. When you see it, like, I think it's one of those saves that gets better and better every time you watch it.
Raya has steered the ball forward now to Trossard in the central position midway through the Arsenal half. White with his body facing his own goal, teases it back to Rice, and now Rice square to Gabriel. Slightly tight area in the defensive third, and Gabriel under pressure has given it away. Atalanta throw in their right wing position. Atalanta looking a little more adventurous in the game now. 11.5 minutes of normal time remaining. Their first ever meeting with Arsenal. Atalanta, they will go to Shakhtar Donetsk next in the Champions League. Here is Zaniolo, the number 10, drilling in a low cross. Good handling by Raya. Easy take at his near post under no pressure whatsoever. And actually Atalanta, now that Rettigui has gone off, they do lack what you'd call a traditional centre forward. Zaniolo, Lookman and Cuadrado, none of them really fit that bill, I don't think.
No, they don't. So you have to get the service to them in other areas. I mean, they're not going to be physical, hold the ball up. You have to get it to them when they come off the defender by a yard. Quite clever, quite inventive. And try and get half a yard, but I think in terms of using their power and physicality, they've maybe lost a little bit of that, Atalanta now.
Forward by Karnaseki, high up to the halfway line, the goalkeeper. It's been won back by William Saliba. Referee plays the advantage. Atalanta thought that they should have had a free kick. Arsenal continue in possession. Calafiori, 25 yards out. Good square ball to Trossard when Calafiori was under pressure. Trossard's dinked one up high towards Havertz, and again there's just a bit too much on it. Left-hand edge of the penalty area. That's going to drift beyond the dead ball line. And out of play for a goal kick to Atalanta, away to our right. One chance, one goal will surely win this game for either team, though. Does either team deserve to win the game, I wonder, Darren?
Probably not, but I mean, you look at the penalty save from David Raya, that's probably the best opportunity so far in this game. But that was a classic situation, and that sums up this game so far. Trossard gets to a really good area, and the simple passes to Raheem Sterling, who's on this right-hand side, and let him get up a 1v1. He doesn't do that, he goes for the more difficult pass, which is the clip to the back post to Kai Havertz, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. And that's what summed up Arsenal, and I thought the substitutions would make a difference, but it hasn't quite clicked for Arsenal, and sometimes you get games like that.
4 straight wins for Arsenal against Serie A opposition, 6 in the last 7. We're into the last 9.5 minutes on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van. The ball is on the halfway line and White will take an Arsenal throw. Atalanta readying another substitution in just a few moments. There's activity behind Gianpiero Gasparini. Lazar Samardzic, who is on loan from Udinese, is going to come on very shortly. Monaco 2, Barcelona 1 in the Champions League. Monaco back in front. Elsewhere, Atletico 1, Leipzig 1, and Brest 2, Sturm Graz 1. This newly expanded Champions League for the season. Leverkusen 4-0 winners at Feyenoord earlier, and it finished Red Star Belgrade 1, Benfica 2. Premier League football returns to Talksport and Talksport 2 on Saturday. West Ham against Chelsea and Tottenham against Brentford. Sunderland against Middlesbrough in the Championship, also live with us on game day this Saturday. Calafiori driving infield from the left into that inverted role. Back to Rice on the halfway line. Rice in the 82nd minute, little 1-2 with Trossard. Now he goes square to Gabriel again. Rice picks up a pocket of space inside the centre circle once more, and Trossard has drifted back towards the halfway line. Angled ball out to the right, and White has knocked the ball into the penalty area. That was a very hopeful pass, almost along the right edge line of the 18-yard box, and easy for Karnaseki to come out and claim the goal kick.
Do you know, again, it was the right idea, but I just think Kai Havertz went to go and he stopped, and I think that's what put Ben White off, because Martinelli tried to make that run from left to right, and it was all the way across the pitch to the other side. But Kai Havertz almost goes and it stops, and then Ben White plays the ball, and by then the attack's over. And again, that's been Arsenal's kind of story of this evening, is that when it gets to the final third and they're shown a bit of promise, they just choose the wrong option, or it's the wrong quality at the wrong time.
Ball over the top by Trossard towards Martinelli, who was making a run into that inside left position again, but he's been beaten to it by Bellanova. He'll send it back to the goalkeeper, and the clearance clatters high up into the air from Karnaseki. Now Calafiori infield from the left to find Jorginho. Very, very tight game, and cagey throughout here in northern Italy tonight. The quality hasn't improved greatly, nor has the number of clear-cut chances created. It's with Saliba on the halfway line, but Arsenal would absolutely take a late goal to win it here late on. Early days in the Champions League, I think, particular, very much all about results, and this slightly unpredictable league phase format, no one quite knows, Darren, what you're going to need, particularly, I think, to end up in that top 8 that go through automatically.
Yeah, especially, and when you look at Arsenal and how strong they are, I think a lot of people expect them to probably go through relatively comfortable. But even with Atalanta as well, when you look at their fixtures as well, I wonder if they've looked at this and gone, but you know what, we've got Shakhtar coming up, they could win that. Celtic, Stuttgart, Young Boys, that's the next 4 in the Champions League. So maybe they're thinking, do you know what, let's keep this one compact, let's keep it tight, and we'll make sure we don't lose this first game, because they've got games that are certainly winnable in the next few round of next few Champions League fixtures.
PSG at the Emirates next for Arsenal, Shakhtar, Inter, Sporting, Monaco, and Dinamo Zagreb and Girona, the rest of Arsenal's games. And you're right, really all of them are winnable, and some of them are very much eminently winnable. Gabriel retreating back towards his own penalty area, pushing header away from goal. Raya had made himself available for a back header, but Gabriel, maybe sensibly the Brazilian, wanted to take the safety first option. There'll be another double substitution for Atalanta in a moment. Again, the home crowd find their collective voice. 6 minutes to go. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0 it remains. Live on Talksport. Bellanova ready to take a throw. Really vibrant atmosphere tonight, no question about that. Bellanova's got the ball back from his throw, and he's gone back towards Jim City, now here. Everybody inside the Arsenal half, bar the Atalanta goalkeeper. Just over 5 minutes left. Out on the right is Bellanova, plus any stoppage time, and I think there could be quite a bit because of the VAR check that took place before the penalty that David Raya made that amazing double save from. Might be 4 or 5 minutes. Here is Cuadrado. Infield in the left wing position, poked it into the feet of Lookman. Not seen a lot of Ademola Lookman tonight. We know, of course, from his time in England that, first of all, Charlton Athletic, but his spells at Everton and loans at Fulham and Leicester as well, he's not really been able to get into a position where he could really threaten the Arsenal goal.
You know, he's looked quite sharp though. When they've got the ball to him in good areas, he's tried to make things happen. But some players on his team just haven't been on the same wavelength. But I think he's looked really sharp in moments. But again, this game, they haven't got the ball to him enough. Because I think he was their one source of quality where I thought, right, if you can get him the ball in good areas, he can make something happen. But I think he's touching the ball every 5 minutes. He's not getting the ball nowhere near enough.
Alderweireld, the Atalanta captain. Atalanta playing from right to left in the second half. Lots of jeopardy still in the game. Goal would certainly be enough to win it for either side. Ruggieri charging up over the halfway line and into the Arsenal half. Cuadrado's led it square. Bit of space for Zaniolo. 30 yards from goal. He is capable of the spectacular, the number 10. Ederson seemed to take an age to play the ball forward, but now Lookman is away from Saliba. Good tackle by Saliba on the recovery. Just for a moment there, Lookman looked to be clear inside the 6-yard box. Stretching, lunging tackle, timed perfection by Saliba. It's a corner.
Fantastic defending from Saliba. Didn't commit, didn't go to the ground until it was absolutely necessary. And as you said there, Lookman looked like he got past him, but he just lent on him. Saliba went to ground and shipped it out for a corner.
Saliba, one of the most elegant and impressive centre-halves in Europe. Lookman's corner, headed away by Gabriel. It'll drop to the back post and it's hammered further away from danger by Leandro Trossard. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0. Arsenal almost keep clean sheets by default these days, but really needed their goalkeeper to bail them out early in this second half. So the score has stayed the same. At 87 minutes, Atalanta still waiting to make, I think, that double substitution. Here, to his own goalkeeper, Karnaseki, all in green. I wonder what Mikel Arteta's thoughts eventually will be when it comes to team selection for Sunday as well. That'll be on his mind, very sure.
Yeah, it will be. I think there's only 2 spots up available. Maybe not even 2, maybe 1, and that's his left-hand side up front. I mean, Martinelli has been really quiet, but I almost feel like he'll revert back to the team that played against Tottenham. And Declan Rice will come in as an extra body. But too many who are on the cusp haven't done enough to kind of warrant their starting place, especially at that place against Manchester City, because if you're not at it from the very first minute, they can punish you straight away with the quality that they've got.
Trossard and Jorginho surely will be contenders. I wonder whether Raheem Sterling will be too for a first Arsenal start. He has been caught here by Cuadrado. Arsenal have got a free kick in the right back position, and I think Atalanta are going to make that last couple of substitutions. Yes, Mario Pasalic, who used to play for Chelsea, is going to come on as well. And numbers are up, and it's the number 22, Ruggeri, who will leave the field. A little high five with Pasalic. And the other player to come off is going to be Lookman. So Samardzic and Pasalic for Ruggeri and Lookman, who, as we were mentioning, hasn't really had the opportunity to get into the game. 03717 223344 to speak to Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Once we're done tonight on Talksport. Lots to talk about this week, of course, after such a busy week in the Champions League and in the Carabao Cup as well, where there were wins for Manchester United and Tottenham. And Arsenal goalless in Bergamo into the final minute of normal time here. Sports bar underway right once we are done with commentary. White will take a throw. He's about 5 yards shy of the dead ball line. Sterling has come short. He's got possession. He's tried to nutmeg Kolasinac, hasn't been able to do so. Sterling trying to fight to hold on to possession, surrounded by blue and black shirts, and he's inadvertently committed a foul. Raheem Sterling. It was Ederson once again throws himself to the ground with a shout. We're about to enter stoppage time, and at this point, if you're Mikel Arteta, Darren, you'd probably take going back to North London with a 0-0 draw.
Absolutely, don't lose. And I said it earlier, it almost had the feeling of one of those games. You could quite tell, maybe from the first 10-15 minutes, that Arsenal weren't quite at their normal high standards. And I just think now it's one of those situations where you go, do you know what, clearly this evening, unless it's a set play or a wonderful bit of quality, we're not going to win this game. But the main thing is we don't lose, and we take a positive result going back to the Emirates in our next game.
Here comes the fourth official. 4 added minutes at the end of the game. Is there to be a very, very late winner? Neither team really have looked capable of creating the chances in open play needed for them. Gabriel back to Raya calmly. Raya, first time clearance, right footed, is going to slice towards the near side of the field. Very tense at times this game. Sterling's not happy with a challenge on him from Kolasinac, and the fourth official just has to come across. Stephanie Frappard momentarily get in between the two of them, and it's going to settle down now after all of that.
It's been quite a quite tempered game.
It has, yeah.
Hasn't really been any bad challenges. There's been a few niggly ones like that, but nothing that's worried in booking anyone or any bad challenges. It's been played in quite a comfortable pace for the referee, I'd say.
That's what I was going to say, Darren. Very even tempered, hasn't it, over the course of the nearly 91 minutes now. 4 added at the end of it. Ederson in possession for Atalanta. Blocked off by Sterling this time. The loose ball is somehow dropped for Zaniolo in a tangle with White, and Zaniolo's escaped the defender. Left-footed cross charged down by Havertz, and that's actually quite a cheap corner for Arsenal to give away into stoppage time at the Stadio di Bergamo.
Yeah, Ben White should have dealt with it. He's done really well, got his body back involved. Just clear it. Don't be trying to be too clever. He doesn't, and he ends up giving away a corner.
Cuadrado has come across to take it, and we know that with his right boot, more than capable of good quality from this set play, and Arsenal have to have their wits about them right at the very end here. 90 seconds of the 4 added have been played. It's at the Atalanta home end, this corner. Referee has a quick word with Zaniolo and Rice, who are going head-to-head inside the box. Cuadrado now, hands on hips, ready to deliver. Arsenal with everybody back. The right-footed corner into the 6-yard box. Good header away by Gabriel. Back in by Ederson. Gabriel there again with another towering header. Arsenal's 2 centre-halves have been imperious as ever tonight. Out on the right-hand side, though, is Samardzic, the newly arrived substitute. Onto his left foot, within shooting range. Poor ball given away. Sterling couldn't keep possession. Knocked into the penalty area. Out comes David Raya before Samardzic could get there. Raya, I think, wanted to release that quickly, but in the end he's thought better of it. Held up possession, still 0-0. Yeah,
you wasted a little bit more time. At least allow Arsenal attackers to get up the pitch, because I think if he'd have thrown the ball to Sterling had no support whatsoever. So, yeah, again, I think that information came from Jorginho. Just settle it down, slow down. If we're not going to go and win the game, we're not going to lose it or give the ball away in stupid areas. So, again, that's that experience I think Jorginho brings.
Forward from the left-hand side by Martinelli, high towards Havertz, beaten to it by De Roon, who's slotted in at centre-half now. He's hammered it up into the air on the volley, and actually some Atalanta fans are heading for the exits. Before we reach the end of the game, a minute of stoppage time to go on Talksport. Sports Bar coming next, so make sure you stay with us. Here is Rice, just shy of the centre circle. Out to the right-hand side and Saliba. Is there one chance in Arsenal right at the very end? It doesn't look like it. They keep possession, stroking the ball along the back line. Gabriel, the number 6, looks up, clips a left-footed ball high over the halfway line, and too much on that for Martinelli, who cuts a rather frustrated figure. He's had his chance. Easily Arsenal's best chance of the game in this second half. That came to nothing, and as you say, Darren Bent, he may well find his position for Sunday's trip to Manchester City under threat.
Yeah, because he hasn't done enough for me, Martinelli. I mean, that one there is frustrating. I can understand that, because his movement's good. He spins in behind and Gabriel puts it out of play, but just hasn't really laid a glove on Atalanta. He had that big chance which he got completely wrong by scooping it over the bar, but hasn't really committed the fullback, hasn't gone past him. His movement's not been as sharp as we've seen before in the past. And it just, for me, he struggled a little bit this evening.
10 seconds to go, last chance Arsenal. Saliba steered it wide, 0-0 the score. Out on the left-hand side with the opportunity to cross is Martinelli. He's not going to get that opportunity, and it ends 0-0 in northern Italy as Arsenal start their Champions League campaign with a point, and yet another clean sheet, in no small part thanks to their goalkeeper. David Raya with the one moment of brilliance over the course of the 94 minutes. A remarkable double save from Retteguy's penalty. The first save to his right to push away the spot kick was good enough, but the second to get up and plunge to his left to turn away the downward header that seemed destined for the net was simply sensational. If you think the double save to deny Ollie Watkins in the Premier League away at Aston Villa was good, well, this was another level, and Raya keeps another clean sheet, and he really is cementing his position as one of the best goalkeepers in Europe. Arsenal offered virtually nothing at the other end. Saka with a free kick in the first half, turned away by the goalkeeper. Martinelli should have scored in the second period from 10 yards out, but he blazed high over the top. It could prove to be a useful point in Arsenal's Champions League phase campaign, and now attention turns to the Etihad and Manchester City in the Premier League on Sunday. Full time on Talksport. Atalanta 0, Arsenal 0.
Get your calls in here on Talksport, 03717 223344. Sports Bar on the way with Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara. Arsenal fans, what do you think about that? Why was your team so disappointing tonight? Should Arteta have maybe rested your big names? And what about the likes of Martinelli and Jesus? Did they just waste their opportunity to impress their manager before the trip to the Etihad in the Premier League this Sunday. Let us know what you think. 03717 223344. Darren, Ben, I mean, there is plenty more to discuss than we had to discuss at half-time, but ultimately Arsenal, they didn't really do enough this evening. Can you put your finger on why that was? What didn't click?
It just looked like they had mental fatigue a little bit, really, as well. And you spoke about the changes, maybe. Could he have rested maybe one or two more? Because even in possession, there was no real spark. When they were attacking, they were almost getting in that kind of that mid-pace where they were allowing Atalanta to get back into shape, and they weren't really playing quick or no. They weren't changing it up, trying to run in behind. They weren't really doing anything, to be honest. They were playing safe as well a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's one of those situations where I could quite clearly see and quite feel it that early on in this game that Arsenal ain't going to win this. You could just tell by the way that they were playing, the lackluster performance. But when you're in that type of situation, it's one of those where you just think, you know what, we don't get beat here, we don't lose, and they haven't got beat, and they start here with a point thanks to David Raya.
Is it the reality that possibly the trip to the Etihad was in the corner of the players' minds, do you think? And ultimately, again, 7 games to go. They didn't really need to force the game tonight. A point is a good point away against a good team.
Do you know what? You could say that, Hugh, but there were little mistakes like just passing the ball out of play or decision making, and I think you don't do those type of things when I know you've got a big game against Manchester City coming up, but that's just more just lazy more than anything. Do you know what I mean? That technique, because there are times where Arsenal will get into really good areas and the simple pass is on and they go for the most difficult one and it just doesn't come off. So as professional players, you have opportunities, you have games like that, and I think for Arsenal they'll look back at this and go, do you know what, in the end of the day this might be a point game rather than it could have been worse with the penalty situation which David Raya obviously saved them with.
Absolutely. Atalanta will rue that moment. I think it was a penalty. It looked like Thomas Partey did kick the back leg of Ederson as he got past him on the edge of the box. So I think the penalty was the right decision, but David Raya, what a double save. He got some info from the goalkeeping coach just before. Pretty poor penalty from Retegui in my opinion, but the second save on the follow-up, reminiscent of that double save we saw against Aston Villa. David Raya becoming an Arsenal great in goal, frankly.
Incredible. As you said there, I agree with you. Retegui's penalty I don't think was great, but to have the ability to get up, and to be fair, the header from Retegui is not bad because he heads it down, so it's not a comfortable height for the goalkeeper. It's in the other corner, and he springs up, and not only does he claw it away, he pushes it into an area where there's no Atalanta players. For me, you will not see a better save or double save than that all season. It's a lot better than the Aston Villa one for sure.
The big chance, the only really big chance for Arsenal came for Gabriel Martinelli, created by Raheem Sterling just moments after he came off the bench. Maybe that was a reminder that Arsenal still missed that killer in front of goal in a tight game of few chances.
Well, a couple of years ago, Hugh, he takes that chance easily. He goes around the goalkeeper, he rolls it past the keeper, he scores it. It looked like he was just a little bit anxious to get the opportunity. I mean, once he got himself in there, which is the hard part, just slow yourself down, settle yourself down, but he completely chooses the wrong option. He goes for power, he gets too much on it, he gets underneath it, he's leaning back when he takes the shot. So many things that were wrong with that finish, which is why it ended up in the stands. But again, you said it in a little bit earlier on. Has he done enough to warrant staying in the side against Manchester City? I don't think he has.
Darren Bent, thank you very much. A reminder, Arsenal are going to face Paris Saint-Germain at the Emirates on Tuesday the 1st of October in their next Champions League game. We will have that live for you right here